It's Thursday night. And once again, it's Jan Carpenter's In the Month of Madness. And everybody's gathered around their radios, their internet radios, to ask the question they ask every single week. And that is, hey, see this one?
The year is 2024, and two friends once again invite you to join them in revisiting or discovering for the first time the masterworks of a filmmaker who transcends genre, whose horrors have lurked in the dark, broken free from the ice, crawled straight from hell, or even pulled themselves from the very pits of a mad mind, who showed us the hidden corners of Chinatown, sent a man from the stars, and dragged us to New York, LA, and even Mars. Nearly unmatched as a genre filmmaker. Once again, Hey, Did You See This One? Invites you to look upon the works of a genius. We present to you Jan Carpenter's In the Month of Madness.
Oh, hello. It is, of course, that time of the week again. Time for Hey, Did You See This One? The weekly podcast reaction review show where we talk about a movie for too long. Every week it's a new movie, and every month it's a new theme. And this month, of course, it is Jan Carpenter's In the Month of Madness. And as always, I'm Jason R. Phillips, and my co-host is Stephen Ricardo Waters. And our guest this week...
Finally got it. Finally figured it out.
And our guest this week is Alex Gow. Welcome back to the show, Alex Gow.
Thank you for having me back.
Welcome back.
I feel welcome.
We had such a great time talking signs with you that I thought, why don't you come on back and do the John Carpenter times, and we'll talk about some spooks and some freaks and a haunted car and a freaky little weirdo who clearly wears lipstick or something. He's got weird lips. I'm just going to get that.
That's a weird way to admit that you were staring at his lips, Jason.
Okay, well, that's true. It is, of course, that time of the week again where we do the thing. I think that now that we have introduced the guest, we're going to move right into a new segment that we've been doing recently, where fans come along, they guess the name of the movie for the week based on some images that I post throughout the week. This week, though, I have something special because our pal Craig, friend of the show, wrote something for me to write. I didn't put it up a second day, so I just have a couple for the fan guessing game. Here's fan guessing game.
Congratulations! You have successfully guessed the correct answer. which is the answer you provided. Congratulations!
Congratulations! All right. Well, right off the top, Noel Codiff got it again because they constantly get it, which is great. This one wasn't too difficult. I tried to make it as difficult as possible, but you see the headlights of a car, and then you're like, oh, it's probably the only one of 3 movies about cars. The Car, Christine, and Maximum Overdrive. Noel says, check out...
And then they whittled down the answers of like, which one of those did John Carpenter?
Yeah.
Exactly. So Noel just wanted to say, check out the Showgirls episode that your old pal Noel was on, and the Stick Taps and Stitches podcast, a hockey podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Steven helped us out with some rad sound bites. He is so talented, and also Jason is a real beaut. Thank you, Noel.
Thank you.
We have a new entry, a person by the name of Steve Broadbent. Now, Steve, I know from back home in Halifax, we knew him lovingly as Olin's because the only beer he drank was Olin's. He even had a spot at the bar at Freeman's that had a little plaque on it that said Olin's because he would sit in the same spot. And he's extremely Australian and pretty funny. And I was like, hey, you gotta plug something or leave a message. And he said, oh, I didn't know I needed one. Just give a shout out to all the people barely surviving because politicians have their heads up each other's arses.
Each other's
That's an
interesting
arses.
visual. Yeah.
That's a new one too. Sandra Luketic, if you remember, Ben was on last week. Him and Sandro have the BS Bargain Basement podcast, and he wanted me to say, need more movie reviews? Check out the BS Bargain Bin featuring Handsome Ben and some other guy. San Dimas High School Football Rules, which of course you know to be from Bill and Ted's Bogus Excellent Adventure or what have you. That said, let me just stall for a second so I can find this thing. Okay, so here's what Craig Webster, friend and former guest of the show, wanted me to say after he got the answer correct. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed connoisseurs of the cinematic arts and aficionados of the fine craft of filmography, today I stand before you not merely as an individual, but as a paragon of a peculiar yet prodigious talent. My acumen, nay, my unparalleled prowess in deciphering the labyrinthine mysteries of movie posters, segments so small that they might escape the untrained eye, is a skill of such rarefied caliber that it transcends more observation. In this grand theater of the visual spectacle, where stories are told through the melange of imagery and symbols, I possess an uncanny ability to unravel these cryptic tapestries. With but a fleeting glance at the most minute fragment of a poster, be it a corner, a color, or a cryptic symbol, I can divine the entirety of the cinematic piece it represents. This, my dear audience, is not just a skill, it is an art form, an esoteric discipline that I have mastered with the finesse of a maestro. Let it be known that in the realm of movie guessing, from the abstract to the concrete, from the obscure indie flicks to the grandiose blockbusters, I stand unchallenged, a colossus in the area of film identification. My discerning eyes, coupled with an intellect as vast as the film archives of yore, make me an undisputed champion in this unique field. In conclusion, as we journey through the rich tapestry of cinematic history, remember that when it comes to the art of identifying movies from mere fragments of their posters, I am without a shadow of a doubt the unparalleled, the inimitable, the supreme connoisseur. Thank you.
Jeez, he said that all on TikTok? I thought they had limited you to like 20 characters.
No, he sent me a PDF with that in it. And I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. I called him out immediately. I was like, did you use AI to write that? And he was like, yep.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Can you
I
guess
could tell
this one?
because
I blanked out the title. It's I something. That's for you viewers at home. Let's see.
Well, it's I, comma, A. Starts for intelligence artificial.
Fantastic. Well, that was, of course, the film guessing game. I'd like to thank all of our players next week. If Craig doesn't decide to write another, 4-paragraph essay about how he's the best, we'll have time for more people.
I could tell it was AI because it used the word tapestry too many times.
Yeah,
that's a real AI slip up in my opinion.
I noticed that as well. Just before we move on to the next sort of thing, I just want to do some housekeeping. Shout out to White Bat Audio for providing the theme. You can find White Bat Audio on YouTube. This guy is great. He makes a lot of DMCA free music for people to use in their podcasts as soon as they give him a shout out. I forgot to shout him out last week. If you come early and listen to the pre-show, I typically play his stuff because he just puts up like hours and hours of content that he makes. So check out White Bat Audio on YouTube. Steve, what was his name again?
Carl Casey. Yeah, he's also got like an entire playlist of Twitch safe music that you can play and not have to worry about.
Which is great because like you play one song and your whole shit gets shut down. Also, I just want to do a quick call to action. If you are listening, please like us, follow us wherever you can find Hey Did You See This One across all social media. It really helps. We've been picking up some steam recently. We just crossed 3,000 listens in the audio version, which is all up now. We're 5 episodes away from all of the video episodes being up on YouTube. A lot of work went into that last year, and going into 2024, I'm completely free now to try new things, including what you may have seen. I've started making shorts. So check out our shorts.
Jean shorts.
We're all wearing jean shorts underneath our
shorts.
Yeah. And of course, now we are going to start the show. I did it all in 11 minutes, Steve. How does that sound?
Too long.
Too long. Okay, well, it's time for our brief history.
A brief history.
This is, of course, the segment where we talk about our brief history with the movie we're talking and reacting to this week. And what did I get here? Around here, it's a time-honored tradition to give our guests the first opportunity to give their brief history. So, Alex, why don't you hit us with your brief history with the film Christine?
I'll keep it real brief. Never seen it until this podcast.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this was my inaugural
fresh
viewing.
take.
Yeah.
Did you watch it like today or like yesterday?
No, I watched it this week. Yeah,
Cool.
a few days ago. Yeah.
Excellent. Steve, you have actually, you know what? I'll just go next because it's the same. I had only what? I was
gonna say, so just copy and paste Alex's answer.
I basically was going to. Somebody in the chat said, "What up, you fucking nerds? Hello, welcome in, Murder Squid."
Whoa, Murder Squid.
It's essentially just the same as Alex's, except for I saw the part where Dennis first goes in at Christmas time, and I was like, "Why is this movie on at Christmas?" And we'll talk about why later. Steve, go ahead.
The car's red.
The car is a Christmas car. It's Santa's murder sleigh, full of murder squids, apparently. I actually didn't see this movie until fairly recently. I mean, in the last maybe 5 years or so. No particular reason why. I'm not a car person. I had read the book a very long time ago and didn't particularly care for it all that much. So I was like, whatever. And upon watching it, I realized I have seen bits and pieces of this throughout my life, but it didn't kind of pull me in the way that it did when I did finally kind of sit down and watch it from beginning to end. It's now probably up there with one of my favorite Carpenters, to be honest. It is so totally different from most of his other movies, and it has a different vibe with the same visual style. But yeah, my brief history, I guess, is that I watched it, I think, just a couple of years before quarantine. You remember that quarantine thing that happened?
What?
You guys remember that, right?
Vaguely.
Where
The
2 years of our
times.
life was deleted. Yeah. And I watched it a few times during COVID quarantine, and now I watch it every once in a while when I'm trying to fall asleep. I'll throw it on because it's weirdly kind of funny, and it's not scary. It's just kind of comedic and kind of calm in a sense. I don't know. It's kind of hard to pin down, but
And pretty
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it's just like a kooky story compared to the book, which I'll talk about a little bit throughout as well. But yeah, that's my brief history.
Fantastic. That's great. The thing that I really enjoyed it was just how absurd it is. I'll say this off the top before we even go into anything. Just get on top of something. Just go up.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Anyway, just really quickly.
They do at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, sort of.
Really quickly in the chat, I just want to shout out Cody, who is Murder Squid. He says, we're friends on Facebook. I just want to tell us a short anecdote. I used to make YouTube videos like a long time ago, like probably 12 years ago. And as I recall, Cody made a video that I made a shot-for-shot remake of. I think that's the same dude. But yeah, I just shout out. And also Crandance is here. Crandance, thank you for calling us handsome. We all have body dysmorphia. And with that, let's go on to director talk.
All right. Quiet on set. Are we rolling? Okay, let's shoot this piece of shit.
Sound. Speed.
Action!
Now, since it's only the second week and we covered so much last week for John Carpenter, I don't want to get in the weeds too much. I don't have too much to add to the conversation, but Steve, did you want to add anything about this film in particular?
I think mostly about the relationship between Stephen King and John Carpenter, I guess, would be the main thing that I would talk about in this segment. Stephen King is kind of, he's known for either loving the movies that are adapted from his books or absolutely hating to the point that he'll trash them and then try and get them remade again. But this is one that he didn't particularly love, but he also kind of gave a pass to, and he's like, yeah, it's kind of good. And he, I believe, enjoyed the fact that they made the movie a little bit kookier than the book was, because the book was not fun. It was, the car was possessed by a serial killer via like a amulet of Dembala, like Chucky. Like it's got a murder man inside of it, or a piece of him or something. I can't really remember. It's been a very long time since I've
toenail in the ashtray.
Yeah, they forgot to clean out the ashtray.
That's what I was wondering. I feel like there's you could do another half hour and just have a like a prologue that is how this all went down, which I thought that first scene was going to be, but yeah.
But I think that they have a pretty decent relationship. I don't know if they're like best friends or anything like that, but Stephen King is mentioned in The Mouth of Madness briefly when they're talking about Sutter Kane. And I think they have sort of like a mutual respect for one another as colleagues in the sense that they both live in the world of horror and people know them for the world of horror, even though John Carpenter has made a bunch of stuff that isn't horrific, and so has Stephen King. Yeah, they're masters of horror and they live in the same sort of wheelhouse when it comes to that.
Like weird, like offbeat stories that, you know,
yeah, and not like
that people don't usually tell, not just like a serial killer, a slasher, or crime. It's like, what if a car was haunted? What if this clown was terrorizing a city in the past and the future?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, it's always nice when I hear that a Stephen King adaptation that I like, he also liked, because I'm like, oh, thank God, because I kind of get like rubs me the wrong way when I find out Stephen King hated the adaptation of his novel when it's like a movie that I love. Similar to like, you know, like Alan Moore, how everything that's ever been adapted from he's just like, I don't watch movies anymore. I'm dead inside. But yeah, I don't really have a ton to add. The production on this seemed pretty stable, and you know, there's not a lot of stories to tell about it as far as I gleaned from my brief researching today. I was also focusing on other stuff, but yeah, Stephen King and John Carpenter, cool old horror men.
Cool old horror
who
boys.
I'm sure have done something problematic that I'm overlooking.
Yeah, that old chestnut.
Yeah.
Why is that? Is that going to work? Okay. Fantastic. Like I said, I don't have anything to add. Alex, do you have anything to add about our boy John Carpenter?
About Johnny. You know what's funny? I didn't find out till much later in life that I did like John Carpenter. Because I guess I just didn't know. I just liked a lot of his movies and didn't know that they were his movies because I was young enough when I watched them that I didn't really understand that they were like made by the same guy. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like, it's like, whoa, Escape from New York. Whoa, The Thing. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing where
it's until you kind of run into an auteur director and then realize, oh, there are filmmakers whose movies all sort of have the same vibe to them, and then you start to pick up on that more.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You're like, oh, all these movies I like that have no basis in reality when I was younger.
Yeah.
That I swiped off my dad's VHS shelf. You know, they're awesome.
As far as this film goes, I guess it's a movie based on my criteria. We'll get into that later. But Steve, do you know so he does that thing again that John Carpenter loves to do in his movies where he does backward shots to show, last week we talked about the fog. There was a lot of shots of fog coming out from underneath the door, but in reverse to show it like going into something. In this one, they do a really cool shot of the car regenerating, which is clearly a backward shot, which I think is more for the body of the episode. But what I was wondering, do you know how many Christines there were? There had to be at least like 3, right? Like a pristine, middle one.
I was trying to count while I was watching. So there's pristine Christine. There's there's junkyard Christine. There's kind of half fixed Christine. They clearly destroy several. Like, you know what I mean?
I think
they start off fresh.
They definitely destroy 2, and I think there's one beater, if you will. That
I have the answer if you would like it, but you
it.
can continue to speculate.
I love speculation.
Like. 23 cars.
23
in the making of this movie.
Did they pay the actors, or did they just buy fucking cars with all the money?
They were all sold as scrap by the end, except for pristine Christine. And one of them was auctioned off at an auto auction in Florida in the year 2020, January 2020. So it was right before the curse happened.
Whoa.
Do you happen to have the the box office for this? Did you get that?
Yep. The box office, it cost $10 million to make, and it earned 21 domestically.
Wow.
So it probably earned quite a bit more overseas, I would think. But maybe not, because they
spent $9.5 million on cars.
Yeah.
You know what? That actually makes me wonder. Like, I wonder how much of the decision making to have that model of car was based on the availability of it.
It could be, yeah. At the time, it would have been, an older car, and the junkyards probably would have been full of this particular model, right? And I mean, if you think about the beginning of the movie, there's at least 10 or 12 of them on the conveyor belt through the
I didn't think about those.
Yeah,
those particular pristine Christines.
Yeah, so they probably used those in a lot of the trashing of Christine as well, right?
Yeah, which is crazy, because that means almost every scene they did a car reset. There were probably 10 cars that didn't even make it into the movie because they had to redo parts. The part where the backhoe,
they forgot to press record a bunch of times.
Yeah, during the scene where like the gang members are completely trashing it and taking shits in it, and they're like, "Oh fuck, we forgot to hit the car."
Yeah.
The part with the backhoe going over it looked a little wonk to me. Like the backhoe started going off. That's why I thought there was only like 4 cars. Like, we got to get this.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's crazy. That's so many cars.
That's insane. All I can think about is the fact, like what you guys were saying, like in the early 80s, this is a 50s car, right? So it was a
really, 58.
Yeah,
and
60s
they made it in 83, so it's about 25 years old.
Yeah. That's
so
like a 90s car now.
So we would be having
a haunted Ford Taurus or something.
Yeah.
A haunted
Modern
Toyota
day Christine
Tercel
would be about someone having like a Pontiac Aztek that they find in a junkyard.
A bunch of Honda Civics.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, what do you say we talk about this this fantastic film known as Christine?
Yeah, let's do it.
The body of the episode.
I thought I'd use the short one this week because
I forgot that one existed.
I heard it in a podcast when I was editing earlier today, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna throw that down. Well, let's see. I have the note. I have it written out as usual. It's like 2 movies in one, sort of. It's 3 pretty distinct acts. We can just, I guess, talk at will. I'll just start us off saying that we get a fast credits. Just the credits pop up on screen. And all I can say is the sound of the engine revving. I don't know why. I don't know how they did this, but it just made my heart sink. Made me feel bad.
Made you feel bad?
Bad.
Like,
jeez.
Like spooky bad. Like I was like,
okay.
Oh, like you're worried that it's going to open with somebody being immediately run over by a car, and you're like, oh god.
No, more so that like it's like ominous. you know?
Yeah, I mean, the revving of an engine in a horror movie is never a sign of something good, and so walking in, I can understand that. I can only imagine what it would have been like in the theater as well, right? Having no idea what the movie is about other than a
Yeah.
killer car. But I think that the opening to this movie is wonderful. I think it's so good. We start, yeah, we start with Bad to the Bone. Or we don't, do we start with Bad to the Bone, or does that play after the fact that the car kills a man? I can't remember.
Oh, maybe it is that
Yeah,
scene.
I think it might be Bad to the Bone after, like when
Yeah.
it cuts away from that, like
But,
the second time jump.
It's kind of like if you think of Christine as like a lady, right? And she's being treated poorly by these mechanics manhandling her and looking under her hood and, ashing their cigar ashes inside of her, pristine front seat.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a lady, like, like a guy like using a stick to look up a lady's skirt or something, and her being like slapping his hand away. Except in this case,
To
I
death.
I assume she severed that guy's fingers, who was like, oh, it cuts to him screaming. It's almost like a comedic,
And
timing,
limping away, like, oh, my hand, like I can't walk.
wrapped with like a house coat's worth of towels,
And still
Yeah.
bleeding like everywhere.
Yeah. That was a
And
different
then-
time.
Yeah, and like the next guy walks up immediately, not even really taking into consideration that the car that he's going to go inspect just like severed this dude's fingers. And he's doing a check, I suppose, right? Like to make sure all the things work inside. But one thing is like that, they never answer, and it must just be stylistic, but like it's the only red one, right? All the other ones
Yeah.
are white. And no one's really commenting on it except this guy. When he sees it, he's kind of like, he looks at his clipboard and he's kind of taken back a bit, like he's like, this car's not supposed to be red. And it's like the lady in the red dress in the Matrix or something, where you can't help but look at it amongst all these sort of uniform vehicles. And I don't know how he dies. Did he just dies? I guess
Well,
he gets asphyxiated. I
Yeah,
assume.
it's the carbon monoxide thing that this car is able to do. I have a theory that this car has like a Lord of the Rings, One True Ring sort of effect on people, where they're like my precious as soon as they see it. And then it's like a Venus flytrap where you get in and it finds a way to kill you. One person later on in the movie almost dies of choking. We find out another person actually did choke. So it's able to like do paranormal things while you're in it, but also it's explained away scientifically, at least some of the time, by it emits like a carbon dioxide that kills you instantly. Carbon dioxide, I believe, takes some time. Carbon monoxide.
Well,
sorry.
there's a clock on the wall that it goes to, and it's meant to show a passage of time that he's been in there for, I think it's 10 minutes. The clock changes.
Okay,
So
yeah.
he doesn't die instantly. He dies. He's in there for a little while.
Oh, and he was smoking in there. That could have contributed.
Yeah.
It's true. Smoking kills.
Actually,
kids.
it did contribute because he smoked in there and the car killed him for it. So.
Yeah.
It was such a Chucky moment where in the Chucky movies they abuse the doll and then they get horribly maimed for it. This is like, you don't ash on me, I kill you. I really thought the color of red on this car was haunting to me. You can see it in Alex's and Steve's picture there, and mine, I suppose. No, that's black. But the red is almost like more of a blood red than you're used to seeing. I think that is a
They don't make that color anymore.
That's, you know what I mean? So, Steve, you were talking about how in the book there is a little bit of backstory.
Yeah, so the LeBay brothers, we meet one LeBay, George LeBay. I cannot remember what the other brother's name was. Probably
Like
some
Charlie
sort
or
of
something.
yeah,
Dead LeBay.
Ted LeBay. He's a serial killer, and he essentially like transposes his evil onto the car, and the car becomes sentient and starts killing people. But he also murders his wife and daughter in this movie. The car murders the daughter, and then the wife kills herself in the car in Christine.
Yeah.
And then he kills himself in Christine as well. So I think in the book that it focuses a lot on that. So the car is evil, whereas in this, the car doesn't really feel evil.
The car
to me.
just rolls off the assembly line evil. It was built evil.
I don't know if it's evil though. It's like more like self-preservation.
Yeah,
To me at least. It kind of feels like like I
yeah,
said,
I guess, yeah.
if you're thinking of it again as like a woman in this warehouse surrounded by men who are being disrespectful to her and not, handling her in the way that she would want to be handled, and she kills one and wounds the other, and then she leaves, and you don't hear about her going on a killing spree in any capacity for the 30 years it takes for it to come into the hands of Arnie.
Arnie.
I was almost going to call him Ronnie. Ronnie boy. But every time she kills somebody in the movie, she's killing them out of revenge or again out of a sense of self-preservation. And the reason I think that she attaches herself to Arnie so much is because he shows so much love for her immediately. And he becomes obsessed with her, and she's almost like seducing him in a way where, he'll get in the car and sit there, and then she'll put on a song about loving him or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
And I don't disagree with what you're saying, Jason, with the Gollum stuff, but I think it's almost more of a seduction in a literal sense than it is in the way that the ring is just kind of like or whatever in your ear.
You just recut this movie with that sound over it. It just makes even more sense.
Yeah.
And
one car to rule them all.
The songs, the songs throughout the movie, I took some notes on really good ones. But that was a really unique touch, and I was curious if Stephen King, if that's from the book or if that was a John Carpenter edition, because I think it was really clever how...
I don't recall, but I assume that would be something he would think of, that the way the car would communicate with you would be through the radio, because how else is it going to do it, right?
This is a very Stephen King feeling story with the John Carpenter DNA all over it. The music, the shots, like the cinematography, it's all very John Carpenter, but this feels like a Stephen King story. Something weird is haunted, and everybody's weird, and
I do think that out of like
perfectly
the directors that we've done more than once on this show, I do think that because I dedicated an entire month to Stephen King adaptations in our first year, and out of most of the directors we do, I think that he is one of the most well suited to direct Stephen King stuff, which is why I'm surprised he didn't do more of it.
Agreed.
Yeah, they're both weirdos.
Yeah, I just made a note here that's like already haunted, I guess.
Yeah. Comes pre-haunted.
Yeah.
It's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah.
We do get a fast forward to 1978 where the next 40 minutes or so is sort of feels like a teen romp, like movies of the day, like Meatballs, or, like a Caddyshack, or a 90s film like American Pie. I said to Steve, it's American Pie with a haunted car, because the first like act and a bit is like, the football player, the new girl comes to town, the girl that's pining over the football player who they completely just forget about. They even say her name's Rosetta. I was like, oh, her name's Rosetta. Like that's a name that you're gonna be thinking about a lot. But you would get two moments with her. You get her being like, are you going to the big game? And then later when she's just like, oh, he's hitting on that girl. That's that.
Yeah.
And there was the third guy, right? Didn't they have like another buddy at the lockers or something?
There's another guy that we forget about.
She's got a good brain on her, but she's got the body of a slut.
Yeah.
Which is good.
I remember being like, Jesus Christ.
I was like, oh, okay, 83. Let's strap in here.
We do get a couple of like homophobic moments, but like they're not even that egregious. Yeah,
he's like, other than being a queer to his one buddy, but
and then like I watched, I usually watch these movies and take those kind of attitudes with a grain of salt when I have to, but for a movie in 80s, set in the 80s, with 80s sensibilities and writers and everything, I was surprised there wasn't more of it.
Felt almost progressive to only have the one.
And before Arnie starts to lose his mind, the two boys, Arnie and Dennis, they have like a really good, healthy male relationship where they're not in gay panic mode. And yes, there is the American Pie sensibility of them trying to get laid and all that kind of stuff, but they also have a caring relationship for one another.
Yeah, and it felt any of the real stuff that I was like, ugh, it all felt like it was just teenager stuff and not 80s stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's even a moment where like Arnie is like, I'm ugly, and Dennis, like, without even a beat, it's like, you're not ugly. Like, he's not like, he's not like, well, I wouldn't know. It's like I'm a football
Why
player.
don't you
jock.
pop those glasses off and put on a turtleneck, and we'll see who's ugly.
Yeah.
Murder Squid in the chat says, did you see the French movie about a lady who fucks a sentient car? Titane, I think it's called. And then the language shock is real for older movies. Have you heard of this movie, Titane? Titane, the French film?
No.
Because I've seen, like we were talking about at the top of the show, there's The Car, which is all over like the free streaming sites. Which I think is just a ripoff of this from slightly later. And then, of course, Maximum Overdrive, which is about trucks going nuts.
Oh, it's a relatively new movie, too. No, I haven't seen this. I was like,
What part of the car do you...
Whatever
I think
part you want.
From the screenshot that I'm seeing, it looks like she's inside the car.
Oh,
so
okay.
I assume the
So is it like is it just
gear
like
shift, I guess?
a shampoo commercial inside a car? Or...
She has sex with a car, and then she thinks she's pregnant. And Murder Squid is saying, yeah, to basically all the things you're saying, which is...
I think she's pregnant.
I think I'm pregnant with this car.
A micro machine.
Yeah, micro machine, yeah.
And it grows Christine style throughout the movie.
Oh, God.
That's the sequel, The Seed of Titane.
Yeah. So we are, after this, we're also introduced briefly to Arnie's mom, who clearly has oh, my dad is calling me. I have to mute. Sorry. What was I saying? She's
The mom, yeah.
This is another divergent moment from the book. I remember very clearly that all of the characters in Arnie's life are extremely abusive to him, except for Dennis and his girlfriend. His parents are abusive. The Darnell is abusive. He's like a criminal. Like he has like like smuggling operations going inside the garage and all that kind of stuff. It's wild, and nobody treats him with any respect. So his attitude, the shift in his attitude is more organic, I would say, in the book, just based on how everyone's treating him, and now that he has this, ghostly strength on his side.
He is Peter Parker from Spider-Man 3.
Okay.
Where he gets the car and then he like puts his hair over to the side, puts on a red shirt.
I think it's slightly less ridiculous than that, but okay.
Sorry, Steve.
What was I saying?
No fun.
No, I was just in the middle of a thought and I can't remember what it was, but yeah, everyone's mean to him. Well, the reason that they wanted to change it was because they felt like they didn't want everyone to be so down on Arnie's life that at the end of the movie when he dies, they almost feel bad for him. It's like, no, they want him to. We want to know that he's gone fully to the dark side of the car, and I think that succeeds because, again, the movie does feel a little bit more lighthearted than a typical horror movie.
Right down to the fact that when we first meet him, the trope that happens to every nerd in every movie where there's a nerd, he's carrying a garbage bag and the bottom falls out.
Yeah.
And then he has to step over a puddle.
Well, and apparently I'm a nerd because that happens to me all the fucking time.
Why? That's never
get strong. Well, buy stronger garbage bags, nerd. So and this is the first instance for me of the ambiguity of old movies, where I wonder whenever I see something and I think it's that trope, but I always wonder, like, was it a trope then? Or, you know what I mean? It's like the movie's from 80, like it's,
when I see,
you know what I mean? A 31 or a 41-year-old movie.
Like, is that the first time they did that, or they said
that's what I mean? There's another one that comes up too with the glasses, where he tapes his glasses, and I'm like, that's a bit. I'm like, wait, no, like, what is this a pioneer move?
Yeah. Maybe not. There were still teen romp movies in the 70s. I think that classic nerd.
Yeah, I think this is like where the tropes were being birthed, right? Like this is the origin of a lot of the tropes, but they were all sort of doing the same thing. But to have a nerd and the captain of the football team be best friends, I don't think was of the norm. And I believe that was just taken from the book as well, right? Like subverting the expectations slightly. And it works. It's good. And you would, like, just in the sense of, like, Dennis, when he sees Arnie with the most beautiful girl in school for the first time, it's almost like he's like in shock, disappointed, and like you're kind of wondering, like, does he think that he deserves the girl, or is he like just shocked that it's Arnie that got the girl? I'm not sure what it is, because I've met people like this in real life, right? Where like if a really hot girl is not interested in them and they go with someone else, they immediately like shut down emotionally and mentally, and they're like, how could this happen to me?
Well, I mean,
I'm beautiful.
He sees that and then he's taken
Yeah.
out of the movie for a whole act. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about that at the point that it happens. But you're right. I did have that. I think that moment is one of the greatest twists in cinematic history. I actually wasn't expecting it. And I agree. Like, I've met people like that too. It's like, why is she with him?
Yeah, it blows my mind when people think this way, because it's like, okay, man.
It's like, no, those two people just gel better.
Maybe the
than
reason that
each
she's
other.
not with you is because of this mentality.
Yeah,
that's
'cause
coming
he's
from your
thinking-
goddamn mouth right now, brother.
Unfortunately, that car turns Arnie into a full incel. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's incel. I think it's just sell.
just sell, sell, and also just a woman hater for no reason. So these guys head to school in another like teen.
He's a one-woman man.
He's a one-woman man. In another teen moment, they're just talking about playing Scrabble the night before, and he put that he was going to play Phil or whatever, and then played fellatio, and then got in trouble for it. And I was like,
It was in the dictionary.
It's in the dictionary. Teens will be teens. And then it's like, now that we're seniors, we got to get you laid. And another trope that happens in this very car is they're talking about that. And then he goes, hey, what about like Brenda Williamson? Or I didn't write the name down. It's like, she's got a mustache. And it's like, dude, you can't have it both ways, bro. Like,
Yeah.
if you're that hard up, you got to get out there and at least try.
Yeah,
dating.
Dennis can pass on the mustaches. You can't.
Also, I don't think Dennis can grow a mustache either.
I don't think anybody in this movie can grow a mustache except for Buddy, who is
No,
20
Arnie
years
definitely
old.
had a 5 o'clock shadow going on the entire movie. I was like, he looks very like I could commend the movie on not all the teenagers looking like they're in their 30s, because Arnie and Dennis both looked like very young men, like they could be in their, early 20s.
Yeah.
But there's a few of those teenagers that I'm like, this guy,
Especially the one.
yeah, like this guy has a full-time job in a warehouse.
Yeah.
And he clocks in every day, and he's just making this movie on the weekends. What is his name? I can't even remember his name.
I don't remember.
Who?
His name is Bully Man. He's
The
Bully.
45-year-old in high school.
I keep
Right.
I keep saying his name. It's Buddy.
Oh,
Sorry.
Buddy.
Sorry,
I thought you were just referring to him
Yeah.
as Buddy.
I
I
thought
was
that's
like,
what they
that
were
Buddy.
doing.
Yeah,
whatever
Buddy.
his
Yeah,
name
I
is.
thought that was just the East Coast coming out.
Until they called him like Buddy Johnson or something like that. Like they called him by name. And it's like, this fucking guy, this fucking 28-year-old. And I say 28 liberally because I'm saying 28 in the early 80s.
I think he looks older than I do, but
Well, we all
Yeah.
look young, like now, like for this day and age. Speaking of day and age, when they're by the lockers and we meet Rosetta and she walks away, she says TTFA, and there's like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
But
ta-ta for now.
then ta-ta, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, ta-ta for now. Did people say that?
I don't know, like that felt like a fever dream moment where I was like, that's
Yeah.
why do they
Yeah.
have shorthand for
TTFA?
talking
why
to
are
each other in
why are
real
they
life?
using MSN Messenger
DTF,
shorthand in the hallways at school?
Yeah.
Thanks for coming by, Murder Squad. I appreciate you. The best part about that is the internet wouldn't be invented, like literally invented for commercial use for another at least 15 years from when this movie's set, and another like 10 years from when the movie was made. So that's something that I noticed about that. Then we have the old Cunningham. I wrote down Cunningham because I didn't know his name. So the new girl enters. This is the line that Alex was talking about. She looks smart, but has the body of a... I don't want to say that word.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable saying that word anymore either. It's kind of like left my vocabulary forever.
The crazy thing is, like, it's not even a commentary on how she acts or dresses.
No, it's just how she looks.
It's
yeah.
just her. But she has the body of a woman. Is basically what he's saying. I looked up Buddy's actor. By the way, Buddy is 24. That's the actor is
Whoa.
only
Okay,
24.
so that's pretty
So,
close.
Jeez, so he just had a
he was
man face.
mainlining puberty
Yeah.
like way better than we were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is he like the front man of a fucking band or something?
I don't
He's got
know.
that look. And I wrote down for for Leigh, I was like, no, they also just an adult playing a high schooler, probably. I don't know how she was. I don't know how old she would have been at this point, but I'm like I've seen her in other stuff. I feel like, and
I think she looked pretty young too.
What
though.
about
Like,
Bemis?
Bemis? Is
What
that the
a
guy
name.
who?
Is that the
I
guy
don't know.
from
It was the guy named
Ghostbusters?
Bemis. I don't know.
There's one of the goons in the squad.
It's
who
pronounced
gets-
Dennis, Alex.
So Leigh was 30. Or no, wait. She was born in 63. I was doing math the
She was
wrong way.
20,
She
yeah.
was 20.
yeah, she was an adult-ish.
I don't know. I think that out of most of the actors, they all looked appropriately aged, except for.
It's also difficult
the
to tell
bully.
with style, right? Like it's like
True.
the hair and everything, right?
Well, I mean, this is the other weird thing is that like Leigh and Arnie at the end, I see fucking twinks walking around the West End right now wearing the clothes that they're wearing. Like, it's all back, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now the 90s clothes are in vogue, which is great because that's all the clothes that I own. So I just look normal even though I'm pushing 40. Also, I want to have deep, meaningful sex with her. Who says things like that? Who says things like
That's
that?
romantic.
Yeah, he thinks it's romantic, Jason.
He says it out loud in front of two of his buddies. He's
Yeah.
like, his eyes pop out, his tongue rolls out of his mouth at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. So in Buddy's crew, there's a guy I've never seen before. And then there's a guy that Peter Venkman electrocutes repeatedly in Ghostbusters. The guy.
Oh yeah, that is him. There's a lot of that's him in this movie, by the way. While I was watching it, I'm like, okay, I think this every time I watch it, but I've never looked any of them up, and I'm gonna try to not and just figure it out this time because all of them are on screen for such a small amount of time that I never really it never clicks. But it clicked a couple times this time.
The old dudes, all the guys that were old, like the detective and the guy that runs the garage.
Harry Dean Stanton he's around.
Harry
He gets
Dean
around.
Yeah.
I have a question for you guys. You know, in the episode,
Was the old man in the junkyard the guy from Home Alone? Yes.
yes,
Was Darnell the guy who worked at the old theater in Last Action Hero? Yes.
yes, okay, that's where I recognize him from. Was Reed.
That was driving me. I did the same thing as you, Steve. I'm like, I'm not looking it up.
I
I'm
need to
but
figure
then-
out who it is.
But
Yeah.
then I had to pause the movie because I'm like, I'm not watching the movie anymore. I'm trying to remember this old
I'm just
man.
picturing you like in your living room staring at your TV
Yeah,
like with this
it
old
was.
man.
It was very much like that.
And then the last one was the tall, skinny nerd who worked at the gas station who gets burned alive. The guy from
Bemis.
the second Friday the 13th movie, who also the animated character from Ratatouille. Yes.
It's
Yes, it is.
It's 1982, so we don't have the internet yet, so we can't look it
Yeah.
up. Is the problem?
Any Bemis heads in the chat?
Any Bemis heads in the chat?
Bemis and Butthead.
Bemis and Boathead. The thing that I loved about Arnie's character is I'm fully convinced that in the episode of The Simpsons, where it's Homer in high school, Homer and Marge meet in high school, I think his name is Arnie. Who's the character in this? Arnie. It's Artie, right? And
Artie.
They look almost the same. They kind of talk the same. And I'm wondering because The Simpsons.
Oh, Artie Zip or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think the Simpsons writers pulled from so many different places that it's possible that this like cocky nerd was based off of post-Christine Ernie. That's just a little bit of one of these.
I don't know. Artie Zip was a very, very early Simpsons creation before they started referencing everything. So
He was
that could've
also
just-
a lot more flamboyant. than-
Yeah, and he was also voiced by John Lovitz, so it's possible they were just basing it off of John Lovitz with some
Acting.
glasses on him. Yeah.
Okay, well, you need to make me a sound for shut
Sorry
down.
about your theory. Yeah.
It's just gonna be
Theory.
it's gonna be the sound of
Debunked.
like a rifle going off and like a deer
Yeah.
dying.
How about this one?
Get out of here.
Or you just have like a guitar riff and dun 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 dun, and then it's me and Steve going, actually.
That's fantastic. So we get a little bit of so I've been watching Oz recently, and this next scene in the metal shop kind of reminded me of Prison Rules, where Buddy is messing with Arnie, and Dennis is like, "Hey, you stop that!" And then Buddy's like, "What about this switchblade?" This fucking like 6-inch switchblade.
Yeah, he goes full like crocodile hunter.
Yeah. But you know, Dennis manages to fucking knock him out, but not before. So we glossed over the beginning when we meet the mom, which I think Stevie started to talk about a little bit, but I guess she just handed him a bag of yogurt or a bag with a bag of yogurt
lunch.
in
She
it.
said keep it cold because there's yogurt in it.
Yeah. It's like they wanted you to know that the yogurt was going to come out later, so you weren't shocked when he stabs a plastic bag or a garbage, whatever.
Maybe they filmed that after, like they stabbed the lunch and yogurt comes out, and people at the test audience was like, "What the hell is that?"
Was that cum? Why was
it's a lot of mayonnaise for a sandwich? Yeah.
And an apple.
An apple and a sandwich covered in this viscous liquid. I thought that was hilarious. Anyway, Buddy gets knocked out, and the take no prisoners, take no shit shop teacher comes in, or mechanic teacher, or whatever they're doing. And he's just like, hey, you stop it there. Hey. And Buddy's like, I'll fucking knock you out. He's like, no, you won't. I'll call the police.
They're probably the same age, the shop teacher
and
Buddy.
Yeah.
Buddy looks like a young 45, and the shop teacher looks like an old
the shop
28.
teacher. Yeah, he's a guy in his 30s who balded pretty early, and
yeah. I wrote this dude looks 29. This is the moment where I guessed his age, so I was pretty close. This is where we meet. The next scene is they're driving home, kind of licking their wounds after this scare.
I like that they didn't. You know, typically in movies like this, the nerd will lie to be like, no, he doesn't have a knife. But I like that he did.
Dennis is the funny thing about Buddy is like Dennis is like, he has a knife, and then the teacher's like, Arnie, does he have a knife? And then Arnie's like, yeah. It's like, you're dead, Arnie. Yeah. It's like nothing. He has no problem with Dennis whatsoever over that, even though Dennis like proactively brought up the knife.
It's because he's scared of Dennis.
Yeah, I guess if you're gonna cream one nerd, who are you gonna pick?
Yeah.
And sorry, I'm not using the correct nomenclature from the movie as if you're gonna beat up one shitter. Yeah.
We should just start saying shitter for everything.
Yeah, because they did.
I like that. That's also part of the weird brain infection is that he starts saying shitter, right?
Like constantly, like way too much.
Did people say shitter?
These are shitters.
That's another one of them. Where I'm watching it. I'm like, did people in the late 70s when it takes place or early 80s when it was filmed just call everyone shitter because they say it?
I think it's the car because like the old man, Mr. LeBay, he's calling everything shitter all the time, right? He's like, the only kind of people around here are this kind of shitters, and then you're like, okay, and then he says shitter again later, and then Arnie starts saying shitter randomly out of nowhere, and then he also starts quoting LeBay later on in the movie when he says like that's the best smell in the world, maybe next to you know. The female reproductive organs,
something north of the shitter.
I wrote that line out too, so I'll say it with what you said, but there is a little bit more to it.
And that's the thing is that I think the car it has an effect, but the weird thing is the book, the car is possessed by the serial killer, whereas it's just the car has its own sentience. So why is the car calling everybody shitter? And why does the car think
it's the first word it heard? First word it heard.
And why does the car?
Someone on the assembly line's like, "Wow, watch this car for a sec. I gotta go use the shitter." And then Christine just imprinted shitter.
It's clearly
everybody in here is a shitter.
It's clearly possessed by Charles Lee Ray.
Yeah.
This is a prequel to Chucky where a car got Charles Lee Ray first. This is perfect. This is a point where they're driving home, like I said, licking their wounds, and they just drive by a deteriorating car, and immediately Arnie is like, "Yeah, that's my new girlfriend right there." And he's like, "Oh, a car?" He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna buy that immediately." It's like, what? And then we get the crazy old man from every Stephen King story trope guy. He doesn't soothsay quite yet, but he does come out, and he's basically like
that's when they said the name of the movie in the movie.
That's the car, Christine.
Her name's Christine.
And once
Interested in
again,
buying it? I'll sell it $300, but I'll give you $250. Seems fair.
and then he's like, "I $300," and he's like, "Yeah, $300."
Yeah, he just sticks to that. Yeah, yeah, sure.
That must
And
have.
he's wearing like a weird back brace type thing. It almost looks like a
Yeah.
straight jacket,
Yeah, yeah. It was
or like
very
a
intense.
a parachute device that holds a parachute to your body, but it doesn't have the parachute on it.
All you need to know, Noel, Leon, is Haunted Car, Teen Romp, Stephen King.
I don't know if that's how I would describe it, but okay.
Well, they asked in the chat what's his movie's about, and I said, I guess I should have been here for the recap, which we didn't really do this time. We're just sort of hitting the road, buddy.
Well, the movie didn't even, to be fair, give us a recap. It's just like it showed us a car, and then the car started killing people, and you're like, okay, I follow, yeah.
And then it
I mean,
plays a
up to this
different-
point, it's killed one person,
Yeah,
one guy,
that's true,
and,
that's true.
and horribly
And
wounded
4
another.
fingers.
Yeah.
plays a different 50s song every time when it wants to communicate with you. Also, classic old man suits there, but he doesn't warn them. Right, he doesn't warn them. He wants to get.
Well,
rid
he
of the
doesn't. He
car.
wants to get rid of the car. Remember,
Yeah.
later on, we learned that the car keeps coming back. So him transferring the pink slip and ownership and, I guess, care to another person stops Christine from coming back to him, right?
Yeah.
Because he also says, like, don't bring it back here. I'm going to sell this shithole and buy myself a condo.
Buy a condo.
Which were like new at
The
time,
first
I feel
condo,
like.
yeah. I'm gonna sell this piece of shit, and I'm gonna go invent the condo.
Now every single person lives in a condo, whether it's an apartment or a condo.
Yeah.
It's just the way they make small.
but we-
And then
homes
he
now.
bought a condo next to the McAllister residence.
So that's the guy. That's the old man that he's afraid of in
The
Home
Shovel
Alone?
Man, yeah.
Yeah, the shoveler. He shovels well. He shovels very well.
That's a different movie, Steve.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, it's Old Man Marley from Home Alone.
That's the Home Alone of it all.
Yeah.
Well, the Home Alone connections to this movie run deep. The thing that I love about that is the fact that in Home Alone, he actually saves the day, and Kevin does all that shit to Harry and Marv, and then the dude just bashes their faces in with a shovel.
Yeah,
After all that, they're weak to shovels. Bricks to the face.
Yeah.
yeah.
Head exploded.
Paint can.
Yeah. Yeah, don't bring a paint can to a shovel fight.
Yeah, exactly. That's fucking clip that, buddy. That's funny. Arnie's mom, they take the car home, or they try to take the car home. Arnie's basically like, I can buy the car, but I can't register it. Can you do? And she's like, nope, I'm the hardest ass in film history. And then essentially he storms out and buys the car anyway.
Yeah, but it was the late 70s. Why didn't he just bring like 4 cigarettes to the DMV and get the car registered? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like no one would care.
That's true. Yeah.
The fake ID is just like him. He writes 18 on a piece of paper.
yeah.
In crayon.
In
Yeah.
crayon.
He just brings Buddy with him.
Sorry, at this point, it's more so about keeping the car at the house also. So this is
That's true, yeah.
This is where we get Darnell's. Is that the name of the car place?
Darnell.
Darnell's.
Yeah. Is the old man guy who works there. And he also works at a movie theater. Ripping magical tickets from Houdini up. Yeah.
And he's much nicer when he's at the
Yeah,
theater.
yeah,
He's much
yeah.
more lovely.
Well, that's the job he loves. He hates working at the
Yeah.
scrapyard. Yeah.
He loves chewing, though.
Yeah, and likes kids. It's kind of creepy either way. The guy at the garage talks about a former owner, kind of alluding to potentially the car, who killed himself. He doesn't give all the details at this point, but this is sort of our first inkling that this car has a history that the town.
Doesn't he describe him as saying he was so bad you could pour boiling water down his throat and he would piss ice cubes? A line I've never heard before. I'm like, is that a saying?
That's a lot of things in this movie are like, is that a saying? Is that something people say, or just Stephen King was all coked out or drunk, or a combination of both, and was like, yeah, that'll get the readers reading.
Shitters.
Fucking shitters. The thing that I also love, there's a trope that comes up here. This is the comedy and the levity that's sprinkled throughout this movie. Actually, it's closer to a comedy than a horror in a lot of ways. And one of the best parts that I like to see in movies is when somebody calls a nerd, hey, you punk. I think that tickles me every time. And he calls Arnie a punk. He gets in his face.
He calls him a creep.
He calls him a creep. He's like, one of you two people here are creeps. You might both be creeps.
Yeah,
This
my
guy's
creep
definitely
detector
a
is
creep."
going through the roof over here.
But
It's off the scale.
he basically just agrees to allow them to keep the car there, but no smoking, which I think is foreshadowing. I think when he's,
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
Also, alluding to the fact that he just drove in and created the biggest giant cloud of smoke behind his car ever.
I'm going to read this without proofreading it, but Crandance wants to know, did you guys think about how the romance between the car and the boy hints at the existence of Cussy? This is
Yikes.
this is decades before the series Cars brought the concept into the mainstream zeitgeist, though it was really neat to think about. Thanks,
Oh,
Crandance.
man.
I'm glad that I didn't proofread that. Noel, it's like the Bussy. We used to call our fans the Bagussi gang, but I haven't said that in a while.
But that was a ghost. The Bagussi was a ghost.
It's true.
Yeah.
Getting that ghost.
It was like,
Bussy.
Bagul, except it was like a ghoul.
Cussy is the only thing that smells better than a new car.
There we go. That's our way around it. Except for maybe Cussy.
I explain it, Leon. It's not.
It is an
from
important
the
line. I
internet.
just don't want to say it out loud because it's gross. But it's important because Arnie says it again later because he's fully been possessed by the car at this point. That's why it's important. So let's never say it again.
Yes, agreed. No smoking. Oh yeah, I was like, is this guy based off Don Rickles? And then I was like, Don Rickles could easily play.
I've
this
just played this
character.
role. Yeah.
Yeah. Leon, what do you mean? See you guys?
I don't think the conversation is very
No, it's
appealing.
It's
Yeah.
not appealing. The cussy is just the car's vagina. The car.
It's a portmanteau.
Exactly. Right. So the car, he's just going to stack new parts onto this old dirty frame, which I thought was like a funny thought. We don't know yet that the car has like regenerative properties, I guess. And then he's like, you can polish a turd. That's the thing. That's one of the ones that I was like, is that the first time that was ever said? Because
No. That's like cowboys used to say that shit.
Yeah.
True. Earlier,
As soon as there was turds, they were saying it.
you can polish that if you want to.
Caveman times.
Yeah.
That's like the
Booga booga.
That's like the nerd trope that we were talking about earlier. Squid Monster, what was his name? Monster Squid was saying that that nerd trope comes from like black and white movies too, right? So old movies. I guess Christine is about just gonna do Artie's bidding. This garage is gonna get it first. The garage guy is gonna get it first. I bet is what I wrote down. He doesn't. He does get
No, because I think that Christine acts out of self-preservation and not out of like
pure malice.
like I said, like it's not evil. She's not looking to murder people. The reason she killed him is because she needed to regenerate without him seeing, and also he had a shotgun and she was probably worried he was going to shoot her.
I mean, I was curious too about like while he was building the car, did it just like was he watching it regenerate? Did he know, or did he have to build?
Maybe
the
he had
car
to earn
once?
it. Maybe him fixing it, like you know what I mean, got her to a level that she could regenerate.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's what I was thinking
That's
too.
what I was
Like
thinking.
she can't regenerate from being all rusted and in disrepair because she doesn't have that love that she needs. I think it's like the power of love is what heals her.
They had the bonding, the repair montage that kind of paired them,
Yeah.
Well, we get a little bit of a time jump here because then we get sort of the car coming around. We get a conversation between Darnell and Arnie where he's essentially like, kid, don't expect anything from me, but if you want to do some odd jobs around here, maybe, you could pick my cars over for more parts, because Arnie's just rebuilt a car from his junkyard essentially. It's like, also, you know what, maybe I'll give you a little bit of money. And that was kind of a heartwarming moment too. So maybe that's why he wasn't on.
Yeah, and I think he just wants to be tough on him to toughen him up maybe a bit. Yeah, don't expect anything, but I will give you free stuff and money.
Yeah.
I will give you a job.
If you swap out the empty toilet paper rolls every once in a while.
Yeah. I don't know how to do it. Since I've been just picking toilet paper off the ground since my wife died.
Fuck. But he, like, at that moment, he's like, well, I have to think about it. And he yells in his face, don't think about it too long. I'll throw you on your fucking ass.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, at school, they're perving on the new girl in the library. And Dennis is like, hey, watch this. I'll go get a number and get a number.
I bet you $1 or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
I do like that she shoots everybody down. It's kind of, but even though we don't really see it until Dennis does it, it's like the other guys, you can already kind of imagine what those scenarios were like, so you don't need to see them.
Yeah.
But you half expect him to be successful because of that first glance they gave each other when she first arrived at school. But
he's also not awful.
No, he's not a bad guy, which is good.
Yeah.
But he does sort of, when on that first car ride to school, he does sort of imply that he kind of goes through everybody.
Yeah.
In terms of his
that's just classic Dennis.
Just a real Dennis move.
And the second and last time we see Rosetta is during this, where she's just looking at him longingly. She might be in the football part as well.
Yeah, she gets worried when he gets broken.
But like, I was wondering if maybe she was a cutting room floor, or if the mood of the movie does change significantly at one point. So it's kind of like, let's just cut all the other tertiary characters from the teen drama part, and let's just focus on this car now. Mm-hmm. Which we're coming up to. We're making it through this movie pretty. I like John Carpenter movies because they're really to the point. There's not too much to like speculate on. And if you think about it too hard, it's almost like overkill.
He doesn't waste time.
And in fact, right here I wrote, I find the non-car stuff kind of boring by comparison. Not like unwatchable or bad or anything. I was just like, what about that car though?
Yeah.
Is the car doing anything right now?
When the car's
not on screen, people should be saying, "Where's Christine?" Yeah.
Right. That's great.
Man.
I theorized that at this point too, and when he's like, "Would you like to go dancing with me?" and she's like, "No, I already have a date." Arnie's already done all the stuff behind the scenes. He's already like been like, "Oh, the new girl, I got this car. I'm I got my turtleneck and my red coat on. I got my lipstick. I'm going to ask her out on a date. She's enthralled by
my eyes are better.
My eyes are better.
I don't need glasses anymore."
Well,
this is the thing is like, it's also making him stronger, right? It's making him more confident, but it's also like literally improving his body.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
And cool.
So when Jason earlier said it's like Spider-Man 3 and you said he was wrong, I don't know.
I didn't
Starts wearing black.
I didn't say
his eyes get better.
This is much better. Less goofy.
I wrote it down. You said, Jason, you're stupid and wrong.
Wait, stupid.
I might have said that. Yeah.
That's what Steve said. I don't know.
Jesus Christ.
Talk to Steve.
Steve, call me stupid again, right to my face, and I didn't even notice it.
Yeah.
Again.
Sorry.
Yeah. Again.
It'll happen at least once or twice more this episode.
Yeah, probably. I have a lot of harebrained.
I'm starting to lose my voice, and I don't like it.
Ideas.
Hope you find it.
I can't. I like that we see this transformation off screen though. Like we don't see it happening. Like we don't get a moment
until he rolls up,
looking in the mirror, being like,
yeah.
If Sam Raimi made this movie, there would be a scene like the either like when he first realizes he's shooting webs everywhere, or like the third one when Venom is losing the suit and he's just like. Ah!
I feel like you are drastically undercutting Sam Raimi as a director here.
No,
you know that he's also a master of horror.
I know. The Spider-Man movies are goofy by comparison to it. Like I love Spider-Man 1 and 2, but they're goofy superhero movies compared to his like awesome horror stuff. That's
what I'm saying is that this is a horror movie and not a goofy Spider-Man movie.
It's true.
Yeah.
Listen, I love Spider-Man, but Spider-Man 3 has a whole whack of problems. The part here is Arnie at the table and just telling his parents to just fuck off, basically.
Literally.
He's become a badass. And that's where I wrote the mom is also going to get killed. Spoilers, no parents die in this movie. And I did make a note that I like that the car is making him cool.
Yeah.
And in that same scene, Dennis is just slamming a giant glass of milk, which I was like, ugh. I like milk too, but you don't drink a whole glass of milk these days. I don't know what that means.
Not on camera, anyway.
Not on camera. It means you're a villain.
Or at least you don't admit it to the internet.
Yeah.
You don't talk about how you love milk, but pretend like you don't.
Yeah.
Dennis then is like, so the mom is basically like, what the hell is up with him? And he's like, I don't know, man. I told him not to buy the car. It's out of my hands. And she's like, well, I don't like it.
She says, well, you didn't try hard enough. He's like, I tried to get him not to do it, and then she says, you didn't try hard enough, and then
he's
literally
like,
the same. But then when they're pulling into the garage, he's like, if you sold that piece of shit to him, kid, you better feel pretty fucking guilty about yourself. And he's like, I tried to get him not to buy it. And he's like, well, you didn't try hard enough. People just keep saying the same lines over and over, which is kind of a theme.
It's all on Dennis.
Yeah, it's all Dennis's fault.
Yeah, the mom. This is the part of the thing about the town knowing about this car too, where the mom is like, the former owner died of carbon monoxide poisoning also, and then he goes to the old man who kind of gives the exposition dump of like his brother, the brother's wife, the daughter who all died because of this car in various ways, mostly suicide. And well, the daughter got choked, right?
She choked inside the car,
much like it tries to do to Leigh, like coming up here pretty soon. And essentially, like this is, I guess they tried to put a little bit of the book into the movie because he does mention that the car would do the brother's bidding for him a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of the book in the movie. It's not completely different. It's just they removed a lot of the darkness that existed from the book in order to make the movie a little bit more lighthearted and not just be like a real downer. Because like literally everybody in his life except for Dennis is a complete abusive piece of shit to him. Yeah, they're all shitters. Everybody. That's why later when he's like, "Who's a shitter?" and he's like, "Everybody." All of them. They're all shitters. Because they are in the book.
Yeah.
In this, his parents are rough and they're kind of overly strict, but they're also just being parents.
They're also the parents of a kid who seems like he is habitually shit on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like they're protective of him because he's a fucking dweeb
nerd,
who obviously gets bullied by 30-year-old men in shop class.
Yeah. Well, there's a part where he's
fucking
like
switchblades.
How many times do you fail high school before they're like, you gotta go to
go to trade school.
Yeah, just keep going to shop. Just take shop every period.
Yeah. You're now the shop teacher.
Yeah.
That's how shop teachers are actually born.
Yeah.
But there's a moment even where he goes to his mom. This is to your point, Alex, where he's like, you wanted me to be in the chess club instead of band, and you're like, those are both like kind of equally nerdy things. It's like, it's not like he was trying to do something dangerous, right?
Yeah.
He wanted to play the trombone, and his mom was like, no. You need to learn about castling your rook.
What if you get struck by lightning?
Yeah.
And she was like so against them taking shop.
Yeah, and he makes it seem like it's embarrassing to them for some reason, like they're socialites or something, but we see no evidence of this. I assume it's just because she didn't want him to be around rough characters.
Maybe she thought he wasn't cut out for it, even though he really fixes up that car nice.
Yeah. He does. Like he
that shop teacher needs recognition. He taught that little dweeb how to fix a car, I'll tell you.
There should have been a heartwarming moment where the shop class teacher shows up at the garage and he says,
he should have been at the football game.
Job,
he should have had like a knowing nod at the football game where it's just like, I taught him that.
I also taught him how to kiss.
He's also see that lipstick? I taught him how to put that on.
I put it on him.
Yeah.
But he is also the football coach. I don't know if you noticed that when Dennis gets crumpled.
I did not notice that.
Yeah,
no.
I didn't, but that's a pretty standard trope in high school movies where it's like, and then they'll have to like substitute math and be like, I don't know what I don't know 1 + 2.
1 + 1 equals car.
But isn't usually the phys ed teacher the football coach? Or maybe he's also the phys ed teacher.
He's probably also the phys ed teacher. It's a small town, right? There's probably 7 teachers at the school.
He does all of like the stereotypical, like
Yeah.
male
Boy
dominated
classes.
teacher classes.
Yeah,
these
boy
are
classes.
the boy classes.
I took
Which is
we didn't I don't know if you guys had
ridiculous.
shop, but we had a thing where like it was a co-op where we went to another school for shop class for 1 year. Like just that was all the shop I ever got. And all we made like a little shelf, and we made a frying pan because they wanted to teach us how to use the metal bender.
Yeah.
And I remember we made our pans, and walking home I was super into wrestling. I was one of those kids running around yelling "suck it" and loved wrestling.
No, yeah.
I'm a
As a
professional-
kid, you were into wrestling. Okay, I follow.
And by the time we got home, the frying pans we had made were all bent to shit because we were hitting each other on the back and the head with them, having an anywhere in the neighborhood wrestling match.
All right.
At our school, shop was taught by Mr. Lawson.
Lawson, yeah. He's
And
like a little Scottish man.
He wasn't just a little Scottish man. If you were to depict Mr. Lawson in a movie or a TV show, people would say that you were racist because he was basically like the most over the top caricature of a Scottish person ever.
Yeah.
He was basically like
it's a great day for soccer.
Yeah, he was basically
great
like a
day for
dwarf, but like
TFC.
not like a Tolkien dwarf.
He was, yeah. Well, I mean,
Yes,
my
he
mom
was
is
quite
my mom
short.
My mom is Scottish, so like I'm very familiar with the accent, and he had a more hardcore accent than my mom even, and my mom has a Scottish accent, and I was like, holy moly.
He used to jump onto his desk and scream and stuff.
He used to make you do push-ups if you were like 30 seconds late.
You would do, if for every minute you were late, you had to do a push-up or stay after school.
Why is this why is this escalating? This guy
He was
And he had a
crazy.
hammer. Speaking of dwarven stereotypes,
He would
had a
walk around
ball-peen
with a
hammer because people would fall asleep in his class, and he would go up and he would smash the desk with the hammer.
One of those.
Yeah.
Eh?
I remember
Yeah.
this. I only
he
took
was-
one semester of this. I
He
did
was
not do
crazy as
anymore.
a shithouse rat, dude.
Yeah.
But he was wicked.
Well, because like the first year you had to take either that or there was another optional course you could
Yeah,
take
you could
other
take
than that.
computer science as like a tech course.
Well, this
Yeah,
is
so I
interesting.
took that as well.
Leon in the chat is saying they had design and technology where they drew blueprints.
I think that's what it was,
and
right?
made a
Design and
hydraulic
technology.
pump. That we didn't. In
Well, we
Halifax,
used
didn't
lathes
have-
and stuff.
I
But there was
used
also,
a lathe to make a pen, and yeah, it had to
Yeah.
have a thread so you could screw the pen.
Did
we also
you?
made rock-
Very few
rockets.
switchblades though, compared to Christine.
Were your
in my
high
shop
school
class.
like? Were they like adult credits? Like were they special classes or were they more
No, there was just
traditional?
there's part you had to take a technology course in the first year of high school, and you could take this. It wasn't a shop class; it was design and technology, where you were learning how to read blueprints to make things. So we made those pens, we made some rockets, we made
Yeah.
a couple things.
yeah.
There was a shop class in our high school though, but I never took it. There's that random hallway that smelled of gasoline where all the cars.
Yeah, yeah.
Where all the buddies hung out, the cool buddies.
The cool buddies, yeah.
I bet Buddy.
We called them Derricks.
I bet Buddy.
Yeah.
I bet Buddy liked to do really terrible things at house parties.
Yeah.
We wanted to get into that. Dennis breaks into the garage after he talks to the old man, and immediately the car plays a song like "You keep a knocking, but you can't get in," which I thought was chef's kiss. And then he's like, "Oh fuck, cars aren't supposed to talk," and runs out of there.
The car knows I'm trying to get in.
The least secure building in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It has giant windows that you can walk through.
I wrote Dennis tries to futz with the car, which is like, I don't use the word futz, so maybe my head went straight 50s with that as well. And yeah, you get spooked.
That would be your
there.
nickname in the 50s, Jason.
Futz.
Hey, Futz, get
Hey,
over
Futz.
here.
Hey, Jason Futz.
Hey, Fuds,
Get over here. You got some splaining
show me
to
one of
do.
your wrestling moves, Fuds.
I don't want to, guys. Please
Give him the
stop.
frying pan, Futz.
Please stop swirling me. I was a huge nerd. I think that the next scene is the football game. Oh, did you guys catch the extremely racist Indian headdress kids?
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, it's racist.
Yeah.
Like, and
It is, yeah.
I don't know. I didn't really get the vibe that it was played as racist. Like, look how ridiculous this is, because I feel like that kind of thing only became like people started commenting on it and being like,
Yeah,
you can't do that
for sure.
more recently, like more in the 90s and early
Yeah,
2000s.
whatever their team was, they were the somethings.
Yeah,
And
I think
I'm
was
not
like...
going to go through any of the somethings they might have been.
Yeah,
but they were something.
Yeah, it's also one of those things where it's always been a problem, but it's now becoming accepted more nationally and internationally as a problem. Where we're all kind of like, ugh. Let's change
it's
to...
always been a problem, but back then it was their problem. And you know what I mean? Like back in the 80s. Yeah, for sure.
That was a thing that was pretty common in 80s movies. I think in Meatballs or Revenge of the Nerds that stuff happens too. Revenge of the Nerds is like
Revenge of the Nerds.
I don't ever want to like do that.
You're not
on
making
the
that
show
episode
because
I don't
know
think.
how to, it's a land. Just landmines.
There's a couple of movies that I've vetoed in the past, and that one's on the list.
We can't do Ace Ventura because the main plot is like extremely
for
transphobic.
Sure. We could do Ace Ventura 2.
Yeah, When Nature Calls. Yeah,
it's less problematic, and even the problematic stuff is not that bad. I mean, it's still bad
comparatively.
But it's comparatively not as bad.
Yeah, for sure.
Like in Showgirls, how they have there's a version of Showgirls that kind of tones it down a bit. They should make a version of that of Ace Ventura, but you can't really because you can't cut around
transphobic. Where there's no antagonist in the movie.
No, the movie just cuts off 20 minutes at the end, and you're like, what happened?
At the very end, it's like Finkel was killed on the way back to his home planet.
yeah,
exactly.
Oh man. I don't even want to I'm sorry to dwell on it, but I don't even want to watch Ace Ventura. I
watched it recently just to evaluate the situation, and nope, we're not doing it. Yeah. I don't want to ever talk about that movie on the internet.
Well, it's gone forever. Yeah. There's one Ace Ventura movie and a cartoon show. I think there was a cartoon show and one where he's a kid. There's a third one where second one where he's a kid. Arnie rolls up with the new Christine. I have no idea how he got it to be that beautiful. And
Christine.
I wrote,
Christine, do up, shoo.
Holy shit! Arnie has a date with the new girl. What a reveal! They're kissing. Insane. What? And that I wasn't expecting it. I don't know if you guys were expecting it, but
when she said I already have a date, I was like, it's Arnie.
I didn't know what this movie really was yet. No.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, yeah,
I was genuinely shocked by it. I thought it was a great mid movie twist.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. During the repair montage, you can see that Arnie is slowly changing, right? His hair is getting nicer, his glasses are gone,
getting offer.
Yeah, he's dressing a little bit better, but it's not like we said, like the Spider-Man transformation where he is instantly. Looks in the mirror and is like, I have superpowers now.
Yeah.
I'm stronger and better and more charismatic.
He does reach an apex of coolness where he is cool, whereas Peter Parker was just like a loser, and then he's just like, I'm a different kind of loser right away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But even the way that entire sequence is shot is really good. I like that you see it from such a distance and you're slowly getting closer from the perspective of Dennis having to catch this football, but also it's got this music that's playing that is weirdly kind of sad and scary at the same time. It's spooky, scary, sad.
Because he's realizing
like a werewolf bar mitzvah.
Yeah, spooky, scary.
He realizes,
and he gets crumpled. This is where he gets crumpled.
Rocked so fucking hard that it breaks his knee shatters. I guess goes into kind of like a knocked out coma thing.
But he was almost paralyzed, is what they say.
Yeah, if it was 1 centimeter off,
I'd be paralyzed from the waist down.
Yeah, the next scene is Arnie going to see him in the hospital. He brings him a book of 500 dirty limericks.
Yeah, I'm like, show us one. Give us one.
Yeah, he didn't even rhyme.
There once was a man from Nantucket. Yeah. What did he do? What did he do?
There once was a man named Hitter. He was a real big shitter.
Say more. He pulled out his gun and got him some yum and sucked on a bean and shitter. Damn it.
Damn it. I rhymed shitter with shitter. Damn.
Yeah, classic.
I rhymed shitter with shitter. This is the worst limerick book ever.
This is the first one? Holy
That's a
shit.
cutting room floor. That's actually where you got shitter from. Every one of the limericks
rhymed
shitter with
500
shitter
shitter limericks.
each more shittier than the last. So this whole sequence, there's something that bothers me, and it's that it bothers me right up until the end when it doesn't bother me anymore. And it's that Dennis's foot is in frame, and it's just like almost the same size as Arnie, right? Like the forced perspective is like Arnie right next to this giant foot. And I'm kind of like squeamish around feet. I don't know why. I just don't really like them, especially when you're like forced to stare at it for a long time.
It's good to know you're not a foot pervert.
So then they have this moment where I'm like, was this improv? Was this planned? It must have been planned, I guess, because Dennis takes a little drink from one of those little plastic cups, crumples it, and throws it at Arnie. Arnie, while talking, joking around, he then puts the cup on his
toe. Yeah.
I was like, thank God
they improvised.
Yeah.
I noticed that.
That was
too.
for Steve.
Take this.
There's one thing that makes me squeamish. It's not a man being cut in half by Christine. It's a big toe in the frame, forcing me to look at it. I don't like it. So this conversation here is where we also start to learn that like Arnie has now gained a little bit of introspection as well as confidence.
I have a question about the line that he says. So they have that back and forth. Dennis kind of confronts him about Leigh, and then as he's leaving the room, Arnie looks back and says, "Isn't it strange that part of being a parent is trying to kill your kids?"
Yeah.
What?
I think what he means by that is like try to kill the child in the kid and turn them into an adult. So the only way to turn them into an adult is to kill the child, sort of thing.
Yeah, and just that his parents are smothering him, and
and they're trying to teach him responsibility by giving him less responsibility, which is like a fucked up way of parenting, and they're essentially chaining him to their path that they've decided for him, which seems like he's been following up until Christine comes into his life, right?
Yeah, the mom is a helicopter parent, and then the dad is like the biggest pushover. And then
it all started when he took Shop.
Yeah.
Shop
his love of cars.
His parents were right. He should not have taken Shop. He would have been fine. Everything would have been fine.
Yeah, I'm on mom and dad's side for this one.
Yeah, for sure.
Christine is a bad influence.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he would have driven back past Christine. He'd been, I can't fix that shit. They would have just kept going.
You just have a big book of dirty limericks in his lap. You wouldn't even have noticed it.
Christine would be in a condo parking lot somewhere.
The old man is wandering around the parking lot trying to shell Christine off on people. Like, only $300.
And then the movie's just
get out your checkbook.
A haunted limerick book.
I'll take $250 for it. Yeah.
That just says racial slurs for some reason.
Yeah.
So we go to we gotta have, if you're gonna have a car in a movie, you gotta have a drive-in movie sequence. So we get to, which has one of the best cinematic moments that I think I've seen. This movie, fuck man. Wait till you hear my glowing review.
How glowing is it? Is it as glowing as the interior of Christine during this sequence?
Pretty much. Yeah. It's raining. It's shitty out. They're in the car getting hot and heavy. They're touching up on each other, and it's all very innocent. But she gets out and bails, and she runs over to the concession stand, and Arnie chases her, and she's basically just like, "You like that car more than you like me. I can't, I touched the dashboard. You told me to not do that," which we don't really get a sense of until she says it. It's kind of a.
I felt like she was kind of raining on his parade a bit. Like, he put a lot of work in it. If you don't take it in the context of, I know I'm watching a movie about a car that kills people.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, well, like, yeah, I mean, he likes the car a lot. Like, look what he did to it.
I think we're meant to still be a little bit on Arnie's side at this point. Maybe that's kind of why they do it this way.
Kind of.
Because
I mean, the idea that like if you were to have in your pocket at all times a picture of what Christine looked like before he fixed it, and be like, listen, this is why I'm so protective. Look at what the car looked like then, and look at it now. Yeah,
like you can love something that you put that much work into. We've been given no indication because we haven't seen anything to this point. We will see him be very obsessive about the car, but to this point, she's just out of nowhere being like, "You care about that car more than you care about me." And then he's like, "Girls are supposed to be jealous of other girls, not of cars," and that's sort of the turn, because after this, they go back to the car. Arnie gets locked out for a sec. Like, Arnie gets out, or she gets in first, I think, and then the doors lock, and then it lights up.
No, the window wiper breaks, and he has to go out to fix it.
Oh, yeah, right. And he's like,
he goes, oh shit, like something crazy happened. I was like, what the?
So that
It
Spontaneous
just got stuck, man.
windshield wiper destruction. Yeah.
there's your first sort of. Then you see how obsessive he is. I guess that's a good
Yeah.
little. That was a good little storytelling beat. I guess.
But it's also
But
a way
that's
for-
also Christine being obsessed with him. Like
Yeah.
snap shit. Like obviously the car did that
Right,
to
when they
get
were-
him out of the car.
Yeah. Because she mentions later or during this that like every time we start kissing, like the car will stall or like, then that happens. And
Yeah.
when he gets out, the car goes bright, which is a really cool scene, really cool way to show this because your mind, an old 50s song where the lyrics are like your mind is playing on the radio. She starts choking her popcorn. He's trying to get in. And then you start to see the cracks in Arnie's like obsession and his obsessive tendencies because of the car happen when a guy notices it from another car over and is able to get the door open and she falls into his arms and he gives her the Heimlich. And I think this was on purpose. They shot it in a weird kind of like he was just giving her the Heimlich, but it looked kind of bad. And I think it was meant
Yeah,
to be
it was like he was like,
his-
well, while I'm here.
yeah, I think it was meant to be from Arnie's point of view.
Arnie's perspective, yeah, where it's like this guy's being a creep or
He's
whatever.
taking advantage of this girl who's got, but he, she just, her life is saved. And then when they get back to her house, he's like, you didn't even try to help me. And he's like, that guy was all over you. I was trying. And he's like, no, that guy saved my life, which you didn't. All you cared about was your stupid car.
How was I supposed to know he was going to do the Heimlich maneuver? I could have done
the Heimlich maneuver.
It's kind of a time sensitive thing.
Yeah. Why didn't you just ask me?
Yeah. Jeez. I can't read all your thoughts. She's like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't like do the Heimlich on the radio in the car. It was like-
He definitely did not try to get in her car side either. Like he was
No.
only trying to get into his side.
yeah.
yeah.
I'll try a couple more times.
Yeah.
I didn't even like recognize that. I thought
One thing that I really like the way that this entire sequence is shot though as well, because everything glows brightly, right? So it completely illuminates her inside, and then you get those nice shots of the car in the rain with the interior glowing so brightly that anybody in the drive-in would be able to see what's going on there and would probably be distracted by it from the movie, which is why this man would run over in the first place. It would see her choking inside. But then it also cuts to shots from inside the car, and all the sound on the exterior of the car is being like completely muted. So like him banging on the windows, him screaming, you can't hear any of it. You just hear the music, and that's sort of like the sound of the glowing, I guess. It's really good, and it's pretty spooky. Pretty spooky.
It's one of the freakier moments of like a lot of the murders are very car hits person.
Yeah.
They get
There's
more
a couple
elaborate.
of
There's one that I love.
Yeah.
But for the most part, this is one where the car is like using its psychic powers to make her choke on popcorn.
Yeah, I don't really know how it works, but like she chokes on a piece of a hamburger or something, and you're like, okay, but how? How did this happen? It would have been great. I mean, this would have been too comedic, but like if it made the popcorn fall over and it like went to the AC vent and it just shot it directly into her mouth.
Yeah,
that would be funny. But no.
And why didn't it just kill her with carbon monoxide?
Because that takes a long time.
True.
Man. It takes 10 minutes.
Yeah. Didn't have the time.
And we get another really good, like, he gets in the car to try to drive off after dropping Leigh off. The car stalls. And then he's like, come on, I'm sorry. Like, it won't happen again. And then the car starts playing like I don't know why I love you, but I do kind of a song, which was a nice little touch. I think my favorite thing about this movie is the songs that the car plays. Like when it plays Karina later, when it's going after the first goon, it's like playful in a way.
Yeah.
But it's so sinister because it's at the end of underneath a bridge, and then chases them all around, which is coming up very soon. Arnie takes.
Yeah, it seems a lot of the time like they almost had the songs first and then made the scenes around the songs. Like that's how well they fit.
Yeah. Which is
it would
fine,
make sense.
Honestly.
I know that I think John Carpenter has said before that he writes. Oh, he didn't write the script though. Actually, anyway, that takes my theory out the window.
He's
Never
got
mind.
his theories.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Arnie takes Christine back to the garage, and
Yeah, he
as
does.
soon as you leave, the buddy gang show up. They sneak in the door while it's open. They hide for a second, then they trash the car and take a shit on.
When I watched that scene, I didn't know that they had 60 cars or whatever. But when they got on the car and started wailing on it, I was like shocked from just thinking of it in a real practical sense, where I was like, whoa, they're like breaking this car, like for real,
Yeah.
right?
I thought
And
the
I was
same
think-
thing.
And I was like, and I was also at the same time thinking from the actor who plays Buddy's perspective, I was like, I would have done this movie for free. If they, I would have read the script and been like, he jumps, and even how he gets on the hood and on the roof, I'm like, is he being careful, like not to dent the hood
No.
and not to dent the
He
roof? And then
stomps on the hood.
they just start going mental. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah,
And then Moochie takes a shit in the car.
two
Yeah.
little notes that I have about this moment. It felt like an essay, first of all, and then,
That's what
and
it's meant to feel like. I
and then
believe.
I felt bad for the car at this point.
Yeah.
Because you know that it's got some form of sentience or ghost in it, or I don't know if it can feel. It doesn't seem like it can feel. We don't know about it regenerating yet. Also,
Yeah,
It definitely has emotions.
situational awareness.
yeah,
It knows that that's happening to it.
yeah.
And it has emotions. You see it later in the movie when Arnie dies. It's like legitimately, it's sad. Its lights dim, and it plays a song about always loving you, and then it goes into murder mode.
And then
And you touched on this briefly. After they break it, Christine encounters Christine's mortal enemy, shitters, dude.
Yeah, the shitters are
Shit
real.
in the car, dude.
Yeah, she knew they existed. Shitters.
Shitters. I knew it was gonna be shitters.
the reason why I was questioning the amount of cars they had is because, and also for the plot, the car was so destroyed when they show it. I was like, how's he going to fix this up for it to be just good as new again? Because I've seen images from this movie from later in the movie before I watched it, and I'm like, the car is pristine. We're almost there, but like, man, it's.
I went in almost as blind as can be. Like, the only impression I had of the movie is the poster that you have behind you, which is just the car. I'm like, oh, okay, the car must be a killer car. Like, I don't know how I was so oblivious to what the movie was. And then I was, and they were so brutal with the car, and the car was so perfect before, it took me out of it a bit, where I was literally like, oh, they must have filmed this last.
Right,
Like,
right.
you know what I mean? Like, they must have been, they did everything else, whatever they needed out of that car, and then they just beat the shit out of her. I don't know.
Yeah. Shortly after, Ernie and Leigh show up to see the wreckage. And Ernie's reaction at first is like, oh my God, my car. And then as Leigh is genuinely trying to console him, even though they had just had a fight, he's like, get away from me, bitch. Basically, like, get off
No,
me.
he calls her a shitter.
Yeah, you're a shitter. You're all shitters. And this is like the
He does. He calls her a shitter, and I was like, wait a minute.
Of course he does, because everybody is a shitter.
Yeah.
And is this when he says to the car, he's basically like, they'll see, all the shitters in the world will get theirs.
Yeah.
Because I have written next, like, back home, Ernie's a dick to his parents again, and they're at this point they're like afraid of him. The mom's like, if that's okay with you, when she asks him to do things, and then the dad's like, they want to,
decided to help you buy a new car.
yeah. And he's like, I'm going to fix Christine. And then as Ernie's walking out of the room, he's like, no, I'm going to fix Christine. And the dad chases after him, finally shows some testicular fortitude. And Ernie grabs him by the throat in another really tense, haunting scene.
And this is the other moment where I realized, like, oh, he's not just like becoming more confident and charismatic and psychotic. He's also becoming physically stronger. He's able to overpower his dad, who's like a foot and a half taller than him and clearly stronger, but he just grabs him by the throat, and his dad's like paralyzed. Like,
Just another shitter to him.
Just
now.
another shitter to him. Steve, you mentioned something really interesting in our
the ultimate power over all shitters.
in our personal chat earlier. You likened the relationship between Christine and Ernie to like a vampire and its thrall.
Yeah, almost like Christine is Dracula, and Arnie is like a what's his name, Remfield, where he's
yeah.
Renfield, yeah, where he's becoming he's becoming more obsessed with his master, but he's also gaining strength and power um, because of the bond that he shares with it. Um, it's kind of it has sort of that parallel, and like the more he gives over to the car, the more he's receiving in terms of that power, but the more he's losing of himself, right? Mentally, he's becoming a part of the car rather than the car becoming a part of him, and he's owned by the car rather than him owning the car.
Book have a Renfield element where the car like needs to feed, and he's bringing bringing the car people to
I
kill?
don't think so. I think it's just like the car is basically its feeding is because of the guy who's possessing it. Like he just has to kill because he's a serial killer. He needs to kill and wants to kill.
That's interesting. I think a unique dynamic is what I was going to say is just that it'd be cool if there was a part of this movie where like he gets it in his head like, oh, you need to feed, and then he's killing like randoms, but there's not enough room. There's not a lot of waste.
Do you feel the need to feed?
And for speed while speeding.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I feel like a lot of the characters in this movie put a lot of the onus and responsibility on a car.
Yeah.
Like they're not watching a movie where they know that there's a killer car. They're just like, Arnie, this car is really, you know what I mean? Like if your teenager is being a shithead, you wouldn't be like, oh, well, it's that car.
It's
you know
that
what I mean?
dang car.
Yeah. Well, let's get him a different car, and it will completely reverse his personality. He'll be
Arnie,
fine.
are you doing LSD? No, Mom.
Is the car in the room right now?
I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Arnie, go to your room. No, I'm gonna go to Christine instead. He just like locks himself in the car.
It's like there's a line that this movie like rides where you go one way and it's like a really dark horror movie, like really like uncomfortable that way. You go the other way a little bit, it's like it's a comic genius.
Yeah.
You know, I like what the chord that they've struck with this. I think that when he leaves, he goes back, and that's when he's like, I'm going to fix you up better than ever. We're going to teach all those shitters a lesson. And I think this is my Home Alone of it all. Do you want to wait till later to talk about Home Alones of it all, or?
No, we can do it now.
Let's do it now, because the last time, 2 episodes ago, I was like, this is my Home Alone of it all, and we're like, let's wait, and then we never did it. So
if you had to pick one, what do you think the Home Alone of it all?
the Home Alone of it all?
Can someone please tell me when the Home Alone?
I really gotta know.
When is the Home Alone of it all?
What is the Home Alone of it all?
Now that's the Home Alone of it all.
the Home Alone of it all is, of course, the concept that I sort of came up with for film, where in the movie Home Alone, the part of the movie you came to see is when Kevin McAllister slaps the blueprint down on the table that has all the little murders that he's going to commit on Harry and Merv. And Steve kind of added on to that by saying it's kind of the trailer elements. We've also discussed it might just be the third act of some films. But a lot of movies, sometimes, a horror movie, a Jason movie, once the killing begins, like sometimes that's the Home Alone of it all. In this one, in my opinion, this is 2 movies. This is a setup movie. It's kind of like the movie Parasite that felt like 2 very separate sort of things. First movie in this is sort of a like a Meatballs or a teen romp, a lot more teen focused. And then when the car gets destroyed by Buddy and the Buddy Gang, and he taps his hand on Christine and says, "We're gonna get all those shitters." From then on, when Arnie fully makes the change over to being a bad guy, a villain, to the point that Arnie doesn't even need to be
bad to the bone, some might say.
He doesn't even need to be in the car for it to like exact revenge for him. I think this is that very distinct.
Well, I think that she's taking revenge for herself, not for him.
Whoa.
Interesting. I think it's, in my opinion, I like what you're saying. I read it up until you gave me that information. I read it as it was exacting revenge for him because he put the love into it. But you're right. They do.
I mean, in a way, she's taking revenge for Arnie as well. But I would say it's more personal.
It's true. Now that we've talked about that scene where it gets destroyed by the Buddy Gang, I keep calling them that because that's what they're called in my head.
Buddy and the Bully Gang.
Buddy and the Bully Boys. I read that whole sequence as an essay in a like a really gross, even though it's a car, it's an inanimate object. What do you laugh? Oh. How did you get that so fast? Where'd that come from?
Oh my god.
If you're listening to the audio
Jeez.
episode, go on over to YouTube and watch.
It's funny because you had the exact reaction that I had when that happened last time, which was like, why are you laughing?
You're trying to get a point across and everyone start laughing and no one knows why.
Yeah.
I believe, Steve, you said, when you do that, it sounds like you're laughing at me. And I had
no, you didn't get it in dignified enough. You know that when you laugh when I'm talking, I think you're laughing at me, right? Yeah.
Well, all of our feelings are hurt. Where did you get that from?
I just found a license plate generator online.
Fantastic. Do you guys
I'm
have
getting
any,
warm from that.
do you guys have anything to add to, like, if you want to talk about a later part of the movie for your Home Alone of it all, or whatever, feel free. This is the segment for the Home Alone of it all.
Yeah, I mean, it's just once. It's when the revenge plot really ramps up, right?
Yeah.
I think we're all in agreement that pretty.
Yeah, it's definitely the turning point for that.
For me, it's the first time you hear the word shitter. To be honest, that's where it really, it starts to cook for me there.
That's what I came to see. Is them saying shitter constantly.
No, I agree. I think Christine, like, reconstituting herself is definitely the Home Alone of it all.
Yeah,
for me.
for sure.
When
Because
you realize, they're bonded now, because I think he says, "Show me," right?
Yeah,
right before
he does.
She Autobots roll.
Yeah,
out.
and it's like, and it's subtle at first because I think it's like the one of the headlights is out or whatever, and then they're both on.
Yeah, it's part of the engine.
Oh, it's yeah.
It's like,
oh, right, the engine part is the first really. Yeah,
it's so well shot, and I mean, it's not a really hard gag to figure out how they did it, but it looks so cool.
Yeah,
like, it
for
just,
sure.
I am
it's
curious.
It's something
about
like
the
you look
mechanics
at something like this, and then you're like, you imagine how they would do it now, and it would just be all CG of like glass, like
yeah,
and it would look kind of shitty, or it wouldn't look shitty, but it doesn't have the same versatility and tactility as seeing a car that has been reverse crunched with like hydraulics inside of it,
pulling in, right?
Pulling inward. Yeah. That's
I
how they would have had to have done it.
I remember thinking at the time and then not doing it after, but I think I want to watch that all backwards, like how it would have been shot.
Yeah, that would be interesting to do. I mean, I don't know why I've never done that.
Yeah, that seems like something you would do
immediately.
Yeah, just by your own volition, just right away. Yeah.
I'm gonna download the movie illegally, load it into a movie editing software.
Yeah.
I actually rented this off. I rented off something.
I rented it on Prime.
I think
for $5.
Yeah, I rented it off YouTube, and it was a UHD version. So like we were talking about the fog last week and how it looked very good in HD. This movie also looked incredible in HD. Once again,
I mean, they've all been remastered a bunch of times, but also they're shot on film, so it's really easy to make film look great.
I did feel like a sucker renting it for $5, though, a movie that came out 5 years before I was born.
I rent so many movies.
I own it on Blu-ray.
Yeah,
and it's worth it. But yeah, I didn't rewatch any of the special features or anything. I should have done a little bit of that, but it would be interesting to know exactly how they did it. But it must have been interior hydraulics just pulling the car inward on itself, right?
Yeah.
The scene. I want to mention this too because John Carpenter is so good at like weird shots, but it starts with a wide shot of Arnie standing in front of the car facing it, and the headlights turn on, illuminating sort of the area. And there's this like, not a crane shot, but what's that? The dolly shot, and it comes in over his shoulder.
That's the best shot in the movie.
After he's like, "Show me." That was pretty cool too. And then it just
the lights kicking on. That I was like I think it probably got an audible fuck yeah out of me. You know what I mean? Like that was that
Yeah.
definitely just like, oh yeah.
I was sitting on my couch and I went, now that's the Home Alone of it all.
I was already
Yeah.
I was already in this movie at this point, but this is the part where the movie really kicks into high gear, because now we're going to see like the horror element of the horror, and there's not a whole lot left. It's a series. There's no real plot that happens throughout the next half hour. It's mostly a series of kills, which is great because it's already 9:45 and we're going to make pretty good time again. Thanks, John Carpenters.
Maybe we're just getting better at the show, Jason.
Well, we've been doing it for a long time. This is episode...
Well, you haven't had the Alex of it all.
Well, Alex is going to talk for 45 minutes by himself. He's going to do a soliloquy.
We're gonna do a month called Gow Girl. We're gonna start with Gone Girl and then all of the Alex Gow movies.
Absolutely. Actually, we'll get to it. I won't be able to do Gone Girl for a specific reason that I'll bring up quite soon.
All right.
I wrote Revenge Tim because I'm terrible at typing. So, Tim, if you're around, I accidentally shouted you out. Revenge time. So it just cuts to the fat guy goon. He's walking down the street.
His name's Munchie, man.
Old Munchie's heading down the street.
He's eating, probably.
Yeah.
I think he is, actually.
He's heading down the street, and then old stalker fucking Christine is underneath a bridge. And I'm going, how's the car going to get through that? And it just kind of turns left, and he gets freaked out by that and starts like running.
I mean, I would if it was a car that I had just completely destroyed and also taken a shit inside.
Also
of
going,
yeah. Shit wipes off.
It's true. Shit does wipe off. Shit wipes off. I think that's the next scene when the detective talks to him because the murders are now piling up. But basically we get like a chase between a car playing cat and mouse. The car could have just run him over at any point, pretty much.
The chase is quite frustrating a lot because, like you said, almost immediately, just get on top of something.
Just go up.
Like, why not just jump over the median, like over and over, right where he started? Like the car, what is a car gonna do? But then, of course, there would not be much of a movie.
That's exactly it.
Yeah,
it would have been cool if they could have done some stunts like that where he does climb up on some like scaffolding or something and she knocks it over and he falls and but I don't think that the budget for this movie was not huge, and considering the fact that they had to spend a whole lot of money on
$975,000 on cars. Yeah. That other $250K was how much they spent on the actual movie.
Yeah. They're like, this is the amount of cars you can get. This is what you have the budget wise for cars. And they're like, can we get one more car? We want to do a scaffolding. It's like, no, we can't do it. Yeah.
John Carpenter we joke around about him just being a nightmare. Just like when something's not working, he's just like losing it because of other people's incompetence. He seems like the type. John Carpenter seems like the type based on he seems one of those like grizzled directors.
But he's also very aware of what he's capable of.
Yeah.
In terms of putting together a final product.
Look at him.
I know, and that's what I mean. It's like, I guess you just, and he's always, I guess you don't know what he set out to do in the first place and if it's what he ends up with, but it seems like he kind of just gets what he wants in terms of shots and sequences and stuff. Like, even if it, like, there's a lot of weird stuff about his movies where you're like, that doesn't make sense, that doesn't make sense, that doesn't make sense, but it always makes sense within the context of the truth that's been presented, even if it's not necessarily the truth of real life. And it's also like, I never have ever watched anything that he's done and thought, like that was so cheesy or corny or whatever, like it didn't look good.
Well, it's like the movies don't have a lot of frivolity, right? Like usually everything is built to a means where they have something in there specifically because it's pointing you in the direction of the next series of events to come after it, right? I don't think it's until his budget started getting exploded. This is a point that Ben made a couple of years ago, actually, when we first did John Carpenter, or last year, I can't remember. But he made the point that John Carpenter works best when he has restraints on, where he knows his budget and he's not going to continuously get 10 more million if he needs it. And when he did have that freedom, you end up with Escape from LA, which is not really the best of his the bunch. And it did have a lot of frivolous moments in it, right? Like the plastic surgery moment doesn't really have any purpose.
Surfing.
It's the
Surfing,
same as the
basketball.
George Lucas effect. You know what I mean? Where it's
Yeah.
like where you gotta shoot
I'm gonna
Star
have
Wars
a
for nothing.
25-minute pod race.
What's a
Yeah.
pod race, George?
Well, I'm gonna have 25 minutes.
Get the fuck
explaining
out.
that. You're fired.
Yeah. The kill here is great too. Since now we know the car can regenerate, I'm going, how? Oh, this is gonna be weird. And then and Munchie's like, I did it. I figured it out. I'm in a hallway. I'm in an alley that's more narrow than the car is wide. And the car's like, nope, just grinds its way right in.
And here's why I can't do Gone Girl. Oh, Jason, could you give me a theory?
Yeah, you got it, buddy.
Yeah, because I got a theory for you. You shitters are trying to pigeonhole me here, okay? Because I've been on one episode. This is my second episode, and both movies, and they're the only two movies I've ever seen that have someone be bisected by a car.
Oh, I
saw that scene. I saw that scene, and I'm like, "Is this what? Is this all I am? Is this what I am to you? Am I here only to analyze people getting cut in half by cars?
Does that happen in Gone Girl?
No, that's why I can't do Gone Girl. By your perverted logic,
we have to find a third movie where
you have to. So as soon as you do like Cars 7 or whatever, it goes off the rails.
I was gonna say we already did, or we could do. Fuck. I was gonna say we could do Ferrari.
Does someone get bisected in that?
He bisects like a whole crowd of people at the end. Of the movie.
Shit!
It's based on the real accident that happened.
Well,
sorry, I'm not well versed in
car crashes.
Car crashes. Famous car accidents where people are
for
bisected.
Recent real review this summer when we fucking have Alex back on for Ferrari, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We already did Starship Troopers. If we're just going bisection and that doesn't have to be cars.
Yeah, Bone Tomahawk has a bisection, but it's the other way.
Yeah.
Silent Hill has someone get their skin ripped off, but no bisection that I can.
That's a little bit different from getting pinned to a wall or tree.
Well, isn't there like a set of legs walking around, and then there's another set of legs on top of it? That's like two people got bisected, and they sewed the bottom halves
I'm sure,
together.
like Death Race or didn't they make a Twisted Metal movie? I'm sure people got bisected.
That probably has
in one of those.
We'll figure
have
it
to
out
look
at the
into
end of
it.
the show.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That was cool though. Like, it's getting narrower and narrower.
I had absolutely no idea where that was going.
Neither did I. And he alluded to it like twice, and I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Yeah, I know.
That was a great reveal. Thank you. And you got to use the theories theme for it.
Yep, for sure.
Fuck yeah. Loving it. Arnie goes to see dentist again, and the look on Arnie's face. So Dennis is like, I heard the car got beat up real bad. And Arnie's like, yeah, it's fine. It was just a little bit of damage.
Not as bad as it looked. Yeah.
And he's like, once all the glass was cleaned up, it was barely an inconvenience. And he's like, no, I talked to Leigh, and she said, the detective talks about talking to Leigh. She's like, I heard that it was like really badly destroyed. And he's like, I put a shitload of money. She's perfecto. And the look on his face when he says that, like, this actor who plays Arnie is fucking, his face acting sometimes in this movie is so on point.
Yeah, he's really good at being fake friendly, and he's really good at being crazed and haunted. It's
showing sinister malice.
It's frightening, yeah.
The next day he's
except when he says that line, I thought you were supposed to be jealous of other girls, not cars, and he sounds like Pee Wee Herman. It's like, what the...
The next day he's encountered by the detective whose name I didn't catch, Detective John Johnson. And basically he's like, I heard your car got destroyed, but when a car is destroyed...
His name is Detective Junkins.
Junkins, yeah.
Junkins?
Yeah.
Junkins.
Yep.
Okay. You go
We
off,
got Moochie, we got Buddy.
Rudolph
we got
Junkins.
Danielson Junkins.
Bemis and Junkins.
Buddy, Bemis, and Junkins.
That classic cartoon from Cartoon Network when we were kids?
Yeah.
He's essentially like, when a car's totaled, typically, they repair it and it's in perfect condition. I can see it right now. And he's like, nah, it's fine. It's cool. The car was barely beaten up at all. And he's like, well, I called your little girlfriend and she started crying when she started to describe how destroyed this car was. And he's like, yeah, it's fine. It was just a little broken glass. And he's like, also, that Moochie kid, you said he took part in breaking your car up, right? You said? I'm not going to play the theory theme, but I think this detective, like, it's a small town. I think this detective, like, knows more about the car than he's leading on.
Yeah, because to be honest, what is he insinuating?
You keep stealing the same car over and over?
But that's what I mean. It's like even if he was like, is he trying to be like, aha, your car can fix itself? Like that's not what he's insinuating is not even a crime. It's that like your car's broken and now it's not.
That's suspicious.
It's a police matter.
But tell me why that kid
your
Moochie...
car's red? They don't make red cars anymore.
Tell me why that kid Moochie was cut in half. We just scrape up his legs with a shovel. Like, dude,
well, that's what
you
do
do with
with
shit.
Scrape it up with a little shovel.
And that's when Arnie calls up Leigh, and we get the little incel behavior where he's like, I love you. And she's like, I never want to see you again. He's like, you bitch.
yeah. Whatever, you're ugly anyway.
Yeah. So over to Buddy and the boys, and Christine catches up to them. We get a funny little, Buddy's like, Christine is like tailgating them kind of on the highway, and then they pull off onto a back road, which I think is the same back road they've used multiple times in this movie. And basically they just do this weird thing where Buddy drives forward and Christine's keeping perfect pace with the car back and forth. I thought that was a fun little thing. And then they have a little bit of a chase, and this is where
he brake checks them and is like, check this out.
Yeah. They have a little bit of a chase, and I have a little theory that a movie has an explosion in a car chase. Steve hates this. A film can have those things. It's kind of a nebulous conversation. This movie has a car chase and an explosion, therefore it's a movie, in my opinion. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you about the explosion. Why don't I tell you a little bit about that? He catches up to them at a gas station, and then the boys get out of their car, and Christine comes in so hot and just fucking T-bones their car into...
So hard that it's stuck in the other car.
Yeah.
It's trying to drag
and
itself
it looks
out.
like, and I was wondering if that was intentional. Like, are they just trying to back the car up and it's taking the other car? And they're like, okay, cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
Keep rolling.
Yeah.
And then as it
I like
backs
how
up,
they blacked out all the windows too, so you can't see driving. Which is
and that also made me wonder if, like, I guess the whole time I watched for a lot of it, I didn't know if he was in the car or not.
Yeah.
Me too. Well, we very quickly get a confirmation in the next scene. But now, the fucking Afro guy gets in front of it. I don't remember how he ended up in front, but Christine pushes right through the car into, I think, another car into him. You see a dummy go flying, which I don't think was like meant to be left in, but they had to keep the shot.
I think it was meant to be left in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Dummies
supposed to be. It was
all
supposed to be.
A-okay back then.
Like a split second on a.
Also, if you
either in a theater where it's so blown up, or on a 13-inch TV when it's you know what I mean.
But also, if you see a real person get hit by a car, they look like a dummy when they go flying. It's not it's not like in a Marvel movie where it's like Captain America still holding his form. Your legs and arms go everywhere like you're made of rubber.
Yeah.
So at any rate, he gets mowed over, and it hits like I guess the car starts leaking, or there's gas in the back. Gas starts coming out. It catches on fire. There's the poor like
flammable liquid
some
appears.
sort of flammable. the poor gas station attendant's just in there like, oh, what the fuck?
Our best friend from the second Friday the 13th movie.
And that fucker explodes so good. And Buddy's just like, what? He assumes Arnie's in the car also. So there's 3 casualties. Boom.
Yeah. But then he just runs away on foot, like, gotta go! And runs down the middle of the road?
Yeah, the natural hunting ground of the car.
Like the Creep music video.
It's like running into a basement in a regular horror movie or an attic.
Somebody
Or
runs
it's like
middle of the
the
road.
up on a roof.
Yeah.
it's like Prometheus with the
Right.
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like the tower is just like go like
other
maybe
way.
hide in that field.
Yeah. The big
Right
bumpy
there.
field where the car won't be able to get you.
Yeah.
But we do get right now is when we get my actual favorite scene in the whole movie. Christine pulls out like fully on fire, and we get a shot of Christine from the front, like blazing. And I just think it's so cool. If you go to our Instagram and look at the poster, I use that image as like in the little screen. And I think it's such a, I wish I had known. This is one of those movies I wish I had seen much earlier, but my mind prison would never allow me to, because all horror movies have blood and gore, but this has like none. But that shot is so iconic. You can tell that it's iconic. And I bet any horror fan or John Carpenter fan would say that shot is iconic.
So I regret, I was going to put it in the trailer at the beginning of the episode, like the John Carpenter thing, but I knew you hadn't seen it, and I didn't put it in because I didn't want you to see it. So I was like, I don't want Jason to see this flaming car before he watches the flaming car movie, so I'm not going to put it in.
Yeah, I luckily wasn't spoiled on that, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, that's got to be the little in the TV screen image, because it's so
I have a question
cool.
for you guys about this part. It is my favorite part too. I love a flaming car. It's one of my most favorite things in all movies. Second only to a cubed car, which we also get in this movie. There's the radio, and Christine is not playing a song at this point. Is there a song that you would play for Flaming Christine?
Raining Blood by Slayer.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, I would say of the music that she would play,
Ring of Fire.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's probably I don't know if that would be time of when did Ring of Fire come out?
Ring of Fire came out in the 80s.
No, but it would have to be from the 50s. It'd have to be
50s.
from the late 50s.
Mm.
Right? Because that's all that she plays.
Right.
Well, think about what's like a Fallout song. A song from Fallout. I just got
I don't want to set the world.
Ring of Fire was from 63.
on fire.
Yeah, that wouldn't be too bad.
That'd be pretty good. I got that. I got Fallout, a bootleg Fallout soundtrack on vinyl. That's glow in the dark vinyl. Oh baby. Atom bomb, baby, you're my atom bomb.
Mine would probably be Great Balls of Fire.
That's fucking pretty good.
That is right. Yeah.
1957.
Thank you for making us look so stupid for about 45 seconds while you already had that one in the chamber.
Yeah. Could you ask us these questions?
I thought maybe you would have had one.
Yeah. Sure you did. Yeah, you were just waiting to shit on whatever stupid one we came up
Ring
with,
of Fire would also be good though too.
Yeah,
I think
but it was too late.
Shitters by Shitter and the Buddy and the Shit Boys.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to start a band called Buddy and the Shit Boys?
Ugh.
Yeah, shit's gross.
No.
No. So anyway, it rides his ass down the road, and then it fucking straight up runs over him, and he's on fire too. Which know, this car it has paranormal fire abilities. I don't think any of
the
that.
Ghost Rider of it all.
Yeah.
That must have been pretty intense to film, though.
Yeah,
that thing was quite on fire.
Every time I see it, I think about the guy inside and like what is going through his head and how is he even seeing? And
fire, probably.
Burn through the ditches and slam in the back of my
Dragula. Is there just a radio blasting at him, being like, "Okay, left now, left now." All right, break,
pretty much. Yeah, you're on your own.
I can't hear you over the fire. What? So loud.
Oh, good gracious, great balls of fire. That's all I can hear on the radio.
I specifically wrote right here, how many Christines do they have?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the car chase and explosion. This is a Jason certified movie. Okay, thanks for writing that to myself 6 hours ago. So Christine returns to the garage smoking. That's why I was like, that's a very John Carpenter thing to do that kind of like foreshadowing early in the movie. Like, no smoking in here. I know it was smoking then, but to have it smoking again. And then Darnell makes a quick call to somebody. I guess his name's Will or something. And he's like, yeah, this kind of confused me, but they explain it like right after. But he's like, did Cunningham drop off the goods? So he's there with you, or he was there. Okay, good. I didn't really know what that meant. at that
Yeah,
moment.
it's just.
I think it was
to,
just to confirm. Like, I think he was like, "Is that him in the car, or did somebody else drive the car here?"
Yeah, but he's
He's
like,
got my Cadillac, right, or whatever. The
Yeah.
there he grabs his shotgun. He's like, something's not right.
Well,
And
because I mean, he also knows about the car getting destroyed
Right.
previously, right? So he's like, okay, so these fuckers are messing with his car again, so I'm gonna go take care of business.
yeah,
yeah, and we confirm the car is empty. He gets in the car and he gets like enthralled by the car for a moment, because I think that this car has some sort of, possession ability. And then the rumble seat just starts moving forward slowly, and he gets bisected probably,
yeah, he might,
or at least
he very well
crushed against the steering wheel.
That seems like that could just happen to that guy anyway.
How's he gone this far in life?
yeah. He never leaves that garage.
Yeah. He's like, I knew I shouldn't have left the movie theater tonight.
This guy is so ride or die, eh? Like, it's just like the car shows up and he's like, "Hey, I think that kid has my car." He's like, "Better get my gun."
Yeah, my
like, don't
shotgun.
Hey, don't expect much. I'll only give you free shit. I'll give you money, and I'll kill anyone that gets in our way.
And I'll risk my life for you.
It'll be the parental figure you never had.
Yeah,
because you come
actually not even I'll risk my life for you. I'll risk my life for your car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'll spend life in prison potentially if these
kill
kids are
all
fucking
shitters
with you again. Kill all shitters. Let's make shirts that say "kill all shitters." I'm gonna confuse a whole new generation of people.
Yeah.
So he gets crushed. Arnie shows up the next morning to find the police at the garage. The car's in pristine condition again. And then they explain further, like, he was like, I was, dropping off parts. And Christine was just out murdering, I guess, by herself. And that's sort of it for that scene. Just sort of a, the detective's like, listen, kid, this is too many murders.
Yeah. And he's like, hey, no, I was actually out, like, doing parts. It's like before he's just like with the other guy, he's just like, yeah, I didn't kill him, whatever, fuck you. But now he's like, no, I really didn't kill this guy.
I really didn't kill this guy.
Yeah.
Almost like admission by denial about the first one, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. But you get the impression that the detective Junkins believes him this time, because he's legitimately shooken up, whereas though he's cool as a cucumber like seconds earlier, and then he's freaked out for real. Yeah.
So earlier when I was like, this kind of is a Christmas movie, the same way that Batman Returns is a Christmas movie, and I was wondering why when I was at my dad's around Christmas time, why is Christine on? Like I said, I only caught that one snippet, but it turns out that it's now Christmas time. Dennis and Leigh meet up. I got this weird sense that they have
it's New Year's Eve.
Yeah. Well, there's a Christmas tree and everything's Christmased up, so I just made an assumption. But
he says Happy New Year to her when he calls, and then,
okay.
Then he says we're going to Arnie's house for New Year's Eve. We do it every year.
They did a lot of
yes.
They did a lot of establishing dates and months that had no context for me a lot of the time. They're like October. I'm like, oh, I didn't remember what month it already was. Though.
What was it before?
Yeah,
well, it was the first day of school when we first start, so it would have been September 1st.
For sure, but it's what I mean. They're like it's November now.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm like, does that matter?
Yeah, I think it's just
I understand there's been a passage of time, but it's like
You
it's like you
wouldn't-
took
if they
the neck
didn't-
brace off of Dennis. That was enough to tell me that time has elapsed or something.
That almost feels like a test audiences did not understand how much time had passed, where it's like it's supposed to be months later, and it's like, but how are we supposed to know that?
Well, I
Like,
thought it was September still. Why
It's like,
is
well,
it
this guy
now?
has
Is
a
it New
severed
Year's?
spine, and now he's walking around. So,
Yeah. How did he heal so fast? Is he a car?
is his name Christine?
Yeah.
So they basically come up with a plan to like separate Arnie from his car. They're basically just like, if we can't get Arnie away from the car, we destroy the car. And I was like, what, are you going to cut it into a million pieces, forgetting that a fucking car crusher exists somehow? As Leigh is leaving Dennis's house that night, we do get a moment of like, oh shit, the car's coming for Leigh. But it's not, it's just Arnie picking up Dennis. And then we just get a long like conversation between them on the highway where, you know, Arnie's basically just like, I'm going to kill all the shitters of the world. And Dennis is like, why don't you drink this beer? I'm having a beer.
Yeah, you like beer, don't you?
Beer, don't you?
If I recall correctly, you love that specific brand of beer.
Drinking and driving, toast to the shitters of the world, 1979.
Our second movie in 2 weeks where drinking and driving is advocated full force. Yeah, just do it.
At least in this situation, like he's not really controlling.
It's a self-driving car. Yeah. Like when we have self-driving cars that are like all completely like you can get in that car drunk.
You could.
It's basic. Christine is like an Uber that lives under the hood instead of the driver's seat.
In the future, everybody will drive drunk because it'll all be autonomous.
Yeah.
Dennis is super freaked out. Arnie is just like uttering threats, being a maniac. All of them are shitters. And the look,
Dennis is basically crying.
Yeah. It's like, oh, please, I don't want to die. It's like,
you got me the wrong beer.
You get the scene that happens.
Well, he's crying because he's worried about his best friend, you insensitive monsters.
Oh, I thought that the fact that he goes onto the wrong side of the road for a minute.
Yeah.
But the look on Arnie's face during this, like his crazy faces are good. Did that actor go on to do anything else?
Not really. Nothing of note. TV and stuff.
TV.
He looks weird. Now I googled the cast. He looks weird, man.
He looks the same, but like something happened. Like he went to war or something.
Yeah, like he looks only. The thing is, it's been 40 years.
Yeah.
He only looks 20 years older than what he did in Christine, but he looks like he instantly turned that old and then stayed that way. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, like if you drank the wrong goblet in the third Indiana Jones,
exactly,
but it just froze a little bit. You actually turn into a skeleton.
Nothing finer than being behind the wheel of your own car, except for maybe Cussy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how we know that he's fully transformed, fully given himself over to Christine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gone full LeBay.
Yeah.
And then Dennis basically carves Darnell's tonight in the car to sort of lure them. We get the final showdown, and it's basically, you know, Dennis and Leigh sneak into the garage. I'm not really sure I wasn't sure what their plan was during this. I was sure there was going to be some sort of like crushing the car or something, but it all seems very kind of harebrained at this point. They're just sort of doing stuff. They hotwire a backhoe.
They use that backhoe incorrectly.
Oh, absolutely.
In like a car-on-car violence situation.
They monster truck him. Well, they hook him.
Yeah, but even no, but like I mean that was okay, but I mean leading up to that, they do not like. He never like tries to like attack the car with it. You know, it's very like, I don't know.
Well, everything.
And another thing, sorry,
I was just gonna say everything that goes wrong goes wrong.
Oh yeah, anything that can does.
The hot wire dies.
She's like really clingy on him, like laying on him in the car, like in the thing, like oh.
It's been so long since oh God.
What?
What's wrong with you?
I thought everything froze, so I thought I lost internet for a second, and I went, "Oh God!"
Oh no, we were just very still.
The end of the book, I had to look it up because I was like uncertain because I was like, did I dream this or did this actually happen? There is a second sentient car named Petunia, and it's a pink pickup truck, and they fight to the death.
All right.
Yeah, that doesn't happen in the movie.
With their
obviously.
car fists.
Yeah, they couldn't find 40 pink pickups in order to add that trucks in. So,
yeah, is it a pickup truck? It might be like a truck, like an 18-wheeler. Can't remember. Let me look it up quickly.
Optimus Prime situation. One thing I got a kick out of. Sometimes I try to when I watch stuff, I try not to think too much about it. I try to just consume it and absorb it and take it at face value. And it's like, okay, this is what they're telling you happened. That's what happened. I guess in looking through it in the lens of having to talk about it and be a bit more analytical, I found myself sometimes thinking about things that happened before what were shown. And Christine emerges from a pile of boxes. And I was thinking, did Christine put the boxes on Christine, or did Arnie start?
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like piling, like, oh, I'll show you Darnell's tonight.
This is gonna be sick.
Builds like a box for it, and
these shitters are gonna shit themselves.
I think it's what you're saying. I think it was Arnie probably, but the same thing happens to me, especially knowing I'm going to be talking about it later. I want to be kind of funny. I want to be a little bit insightful, and I kind of get lost in the sauce a bit in a similar way. But I think that has an answer, and I think it's the first thing you said. I think Arnie was in there beforehand, like, I'll show you.
yeah. But it's like he's like, you know what I mean, going around like a gorilla, grabbing boxes, like
I even
dumping stuff out of boxes so that he can use them. Like there's just piles of shit everywhere.
yeah. There's a bunch of receipts in the corner.
I even wrote down Christine was hiding. Holy shit.
Yeah.
So Dennis sort of blocks Leigh. Like Christine starts to go after Leigh. Leigh gets kind of blocked against the wall, like not held to the wall, but blocked in, so Christine can't get at Leigh, and Christine is like ruthlessly trying to get at her. Smashes over and over. And then, did you guys notice that the front of the car all smashed looked like teeth?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I thought that was a really cool effect. There's also one thing that I think it might have been what we're talking about earlier, like something that happened and got left in, was as it's backing up, the right side of like the trunk fender was kind of shaking in like kind of an eerie way. You know, that would happen if a car was all smashed up. But there's a way that John Carpenter can make mundane things uncomfortable and spooky, and that's one of those things. Then we get a tease of chicken between the Christine and the caterpillar. I'm sure in the book, Petunia and Christine have a chicken, right?
Yeah. So I was reading a little bit about it today, and I think John Carpenter dropped the second car because he thought it would be too goofy. Even though he was trying to go for a more lighthearted vibe, he decided it would be better if we had a backhoe come in here and crunch the car instead.
Yeah, and give Dennis maybe some more agency in the finale.
Yeah, and also having a second sentient car is like, what world is this?
Yeah,
how many of these cars are there?
Yeah. And what do they have an equally ambiguous beginning, cold open where Petunia's like saving kids from a burning orphanage? You know what I mean? Like the anti-Christine origin story. Yeah.
Drives underneath a tree and a cat jumps down into the...
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Pissers.
Oh, somebody's drowning and it's smokestack leans into the water to help them out.
Richards just drives into the lake and then drives on the other side into a bunch of drowning people in the back.
A bunch of drowning people, whole boat, whole yacht.
Yeah. An entire third grade class of kids is in the bed of the truck. Thanks, Petunia.
All to like do up, shooby dooby.
Yeah. Someone finds Petunia's rotted out, like in a similar situation, and then one of the crazy old man comes out. Is like, the guy who owned that car, he saved 60 single mothers in that truck.
Yeah. He was a doctor and most eligible bachelor, and also was a war veteran.
Yeah. Vehement pro-choice activist. He's actually right over there right now.
Yeah. He's the reason we changed our school mascot to something less racist.
He also fought for gay rights.
Yeah.
And was the first out gay car.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to sell you this car. You can just have it for free. Here's the keys.
Exactly. Yeah.
You would have wanted it that way.
Yeah.
So
you're not a shitter, are you?
You're not a shitter, are you? So Arnie, Leigh runs into the office in the place, the garage. The car is like hell bent on killing Leigh. Crashes into the little office. Arnie goes flying out the front. I'm like, oh, that's just how they're going to kill Arnie? Or maybe they're not. Maybe he's going to survive this. Nope, he fucking has the biggest piece of glass.
Very unceremonious.
And he even like, which I thought was really brutal.
And she takes like maybe a second's glance at him and runs out. Arnie's dead.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not dead.
Yeah,
I'm not really badly
he could have
dead.
survived that.
You
Like,
call an ambulance now, I'll survive.
yeah.
I don't think it hit any vital organs.
Yeah.
I'm just bleeding a lot.
So
Yeah.
much. If somebody could please just help. Stabbed to shit is what I wrote.
Yeah.
I'm still not at this point in the movie. I'm like, what is the play with this backhoe? I also wrote earlier when they got there, it seemed like they started doing stuff. I thought they were gonna Home Alone this car. I thought they were gonna set up a series of traps for this car.
Yeah, it seemed like they were gonna have some kind of like something was gonna fall on it that they had set up or something. But they're like, okay, we got the backhoe in there. That should do it.
Yeah,
and then they're like,
work,
okay, well, any time now we'll use this.
Sales almost.
How fast does this thing go? I don't know.
Miles an hour.
Never used one before.
The car can push over 100 miles per hour.
Oh, and again with the security of this place, they're like, it's like shut down because of the police department or whatever, and it's like just that the cops didn't like lock a window.
Yeah. No, they're like, fuck it. No kids are gonna sneak in here.
Yeah,
kids don't
I guess
sneak
so.
in places.
It's the 70s.
Yeah, that doesn't come till at least 1980.
Yeah.
The car plays "I'll Love You Forever" in mourning. I didn't notice that the headlights dim. That's fucking great touch. And they bash
Arnie.
They basically they catch the back of Christine with the backhoe.
It's distracted. She's distracted by
right. Oh yeah, he comes
by
up from
Leigh.
behind.
Leigh discarding any survival instinct whatsoever. Just like stand it like
in the middle of the
yeah.
Right at the end of like a pool of gasoline that I thought was going to get lit on fire and didn't. And even though I've seen the movie multiple times, I'm like, did they light that? I can't remember.
Yeah. But it's like, you know what I mean? Like Dennis is like a mile away in this backhoe, and she's like, I'll stand in front of the car. That'll buy us time.
It's like that Austin Powers moment.
Yeah.
I assume Christine can't hear. She doesn't have ears.
Yeah.
So,
she has rear view mirrors though.
It's true. Yeah. But her eyes are her headlights, I assume.
Oh yeah, that's true.
We get an interesting take on the serial killer horror movie trope where the hand comes up through the rubble or whatever, where the car is getting like chomped from the back by the backhoe. What are they called? Like the bucket.
Yeah.
And it's like chomped into it and it starts driving over it and it's like actively regenerating, which I thought was a really cool little moment. It's what I likened it to is like a murderous robot who's bisected crawling towards somebody to kill them. That's what it kind of.
What does bisected mean?
Cut in half.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you have the world's foremost expert on your podcast today. Yeah,
this is actually the Bisected podcast starring Alex Gow.
Starring, yeah, exactly.
Come back next week when we talk about Bone Tomahawk.
We'll be watching Terminator 2.
And the car gets basically it just ends up getting fully crushed, monster truck style. And it's playing a rock like fuck. The song was a recognizable one that I know, but I can't remember what it is now. But as it crushes and the sound goes out, Leah's like, God, I hate rock and roll. Oh no, sorry. It starts to play music when it's in a crumpled cube.
Yeah,
right?
it's like a death throw. No, it's like a. Oh yeah, the I hate rock and roll is with the boombox at the end. Yeah.
So. Yeah, and then we get the parts move a little bit, and we get credits. So that's the movie.
Yeah,
Chris?
it's like a total. But when they were zooming in, I was like, "Oh, are we gonna get a Jumanji moment here?"
Yeah,
you know what I mean? The boom, boom, and then
yeah.
That's the movie Christine. We're going to now, unless you guys have anything you want to add before we get out of here, we're going to do our final thoughts and then the guessing game.
I don't think I mean, we kind of mostly covered all my notes as we talked, so I think I'm good.
I just can't believe how quick, how disposable Arnie was in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like no final words really, kind of it's just like.
He did reach for Christine and try and touch Christine.
Yeah. That's true. And he felt the
grill,
the Plymouth thing or whatever. But it's I just felt like there was, he didn't get a very like not heroic, but it's like he didn't get a cool death. It's like it crashed into like a flimsy office wall and he went flying and died and just
Got some
instantly.
glass in him. Yeah.
I also, from the beginning of the movie, the way it's set up, I thought Dennis was going to be like our hero for the whole thing. Everything was going to be happening to him. The fact that the point of view just completely shifts to it being Arnie being the main character was a really interesting thing that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
They basically take the stereotypical protagonist out of the movie completely for a whole act and a half.
Yeah.
And then it's just Arnie's descent into madness, which is a very John Carpenter thing, which works out perfectly because it's also a very Stephen King thing. Stephen King loves to do stories about adolescence being haunted by things. So
yeah,
that's pretty much it. So let's go into our what do we do next usually? Do you want to play the game?
The MP.
Okay, let me get this. All right, here we go.
It's time to play Guess the MPAA.
Alex, welcome to the most hotly contended title in podcasting. It's the MPAA game. Now, every single movie pretty much has an MPAA certificate rating. At the end of the movie, you'll see it go across the screen. You might say, what does that number mean? It's basically just that they've included this as officially rated by the MPAA. For some reason along the way, we started saying what the number was, but we've decided to turn that into the top game show of the season. What the fuck am I talking about? What do I do? What am I doing with my
Maybe
life?
you should get AI to write that one.
I'm going to get AI to write that. The rules are simple. Essentially, it's a 5-digit number. I'm going to give you the first 2 numbers. You just have to guess the final 3 numbers. You each have 2 guesses. The first 2 numbers this week are as follows. 2, 7. Alex, you're up first to guess.
Oh, if the first 2 are 2-7, the final 3 are obviously 9-5-2.
Much, much, much lower, Steve.
27150.
Lower. Alex, your final guess.
I'm gonna go 065.
Steve, your final guess. Higher.
82.
The MPAA, everyone. The MPAA.
The
Wow.
MPA certificate rating for this movie is 27135.
135. Oh.
You were close.
You're getting
That was
closer and
close.
closer. I should make you guys have to fucking do all 5 and get 3 guesses.
Close, but no shitar.
Yeah. God.
It's time.
Leon in the
for
chat said 078,
Final
also
thoughts.
wrong. So I don't think this is going to go on forever. But that sound means that this is, of course, our final thoughts segment. And just like the start of the show, we like to have the guest go first. So, Alex, you know the drill. Hit us with your final thoughts, your in summation. If you want to give it some sort of a rating, feel free, whether it's real or fake or funny or dumb.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I liked how it was shot. It was entertaining. It was nice to see a movie that I haven't seen before and see it so blind, because even when you see a movie you haven't seen, you usually know a bit more than I knew, I think. The characters were good. I was watching it, waiting for kind of like some of that 80s, like I didn't pull my collar too many times.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I mean, all in all, I really enjoyed it. I guess I should come up with a rating. What's a funny thing I could say? It's a solid 4 turds on a dashboard out of 5, I'd say.
Very good. Can't tell if that's good or it's
No, it's
horrifyingly
good.
bad.
Yeah, you want the turds on the dash. Shit wipes off, Steve. It's fine.
Oh, true.
All right, Steve, why don't you hit us with your final thoughts for the movie Christine, directed by Jonathan Carpenter.
Well, as we all know, John Carpenter is one of my favorite directors. His movies are kind of up and down, though. Not all of his movies are perfect, and he has quite a few turds on a dashboard, as we would call them, I guess. But this is higher on the list of his movies, despite it having some of the more disgusting language near the beginning I could do without. But overall, I think that Arnie's journey and Dennis's journey, even Darnell's journey, for darn's sake, we get to see this old crusty man who you think is going to be horrible turn out to have a secret lump of gold in his chest, or maybe in his shotgun. I don't know. But yeah, I think I would probably recommend this to anybody that likes John Carpenter movies or Stephen King movies, because I think it's up there on both of those lists for me. When it comes down to a rating, I would give this 1 pristine Christine out of 22 crumpled, burned like piles of rubble.
Excellent. Thank you. This is easily my favorite John Carpenter movie.
Wow.
And one of my favorite movies we've ever covered for the show. John Carpenter took Stephen King's story and used his expert practical effects skills, scoreability, and great cinematography to make something truly different and unforgettable. I was captivated from start to finish, and despite the 2-hour runtime, I didn't feel like it dragged or had much wasted motion. I think they may have spent a little too much time building up the school element, but that sort of makes it feel like 2 separate movies in one. The last 50 minutes of this are hit after hit of exciting action and some pretty amazing visuals. I give this movie a 4.3 out of 5. I also give this movie a fresh paint job anytime there's a nick or scratch.
Yeah.
And because I'm
Sweet.
a narcissist, claps for me.
Jeez, I always forget.
So, in the words of Jason's beautiful wife, you guys ever watch anything good? Madison does hit me with that all the time. Once in a while we do. And this was one of those movies. I also like to recommend this movie to like people that aren't fans of horror but want something a little spooky. This is a great Halloween thing to put on. I think that anybody can enjoy it. It'd be fun to talk about with friends. And with that pretty much brings us to the end of the show. Once again, I'd like to just let everybody know that we're on all social media. You can find us pretty much everywhere. All our episodes are up in audio form now. 99% of our episodes are up in video form. This episode goes up on Friday. It's Thursday now. Before we get out of here, Alex, do you have anything that you want to promote or plug, or do you have a message for the world?
Yeah, go back and watch the Signs episode a lot. If you watch that a lot, it'll disproportionately boost my apparent appeal to be on the podcast, and I'll be asked back swiftly.
It's true.
Also, yeah, if you have any movies where people get bisected by cars, just
please,
send them to us on TikTok.
Yeah, I need them so bad. Yeah, it's all I got. I really need them.
Stick around because I'm gonna play our love letter to John Carpenter, where Steve and Ben talk lovingly about John Carpenter. But before we do that, Alex, we have one question we ask each and every week. Could you please ask that question for us?
Hey, did you see this one?
You have to keep in mind that being a director doesn't mean that you're making what you want to make. More often than not, as a director, you're an employee working for the producer, and you're doing what they want in your style as they see fit. I think over time, he became cynical because he was being forced to make bigger movies with a larger budget, but not a budget large enough to make the movie that people wanted him to make, because he did so well with lower budgets, with like Escape from New York. I think if you want a John Carpenter film to be successful, give him the minimal amount of money that he needs to tell the story that he wants, that he's happy with, and give it a wider release. The people are there to pay for it, and they will go watch it. Like, there are so many fans of his early stuff. It's as his budgets expanded, as the expectations grew to be blockbusters, to be crazy action films. He's not an action director. He's a drama. He's a horror director. So when you're expecting multi-million-dollar box office results from somebody who's not specialized in doing what you are expecting them to draw, well, what do you think is going to happen? Just let him do what he's good at. Give it a wider release. In the end, it's going to be cheaper, and you're going to see a bigger profit off it.
I think that he also sort of became disillusioned by the fact that, you know, he's very creative. He has a good understanding of how to like put a person on screen, and is responsible for several people becoming really famous in their careers. But he also was met with people having been so impacted by his own movies that people started making John Carpenter movies that were better than John Carpenter movies that he could make. And like he would see movies that reminded him so much of his own movies that he was like, I think that there is a younger generation now that are making the same things that I would like to make, but they're making it better.
One of those people.
He's watching his craft be perfected by people that were inspired by him, which, you know, probably feels
about that, and you can like step back.
Well, I was gonna say it's probably like a double-edged sword, where he's probably happy about the fact that he's influenced people to make something that he would love to make, but seeing them make it better than him is like, well, I'm not needed here anymore. Like my job is done. Like I've seen what I would want to make and how I'd want to make it being made better than maybe I could have made it.
That's an amazing point I never considered. Yeah.
And it's kind of sad, but at the same time, it's like kind of nice, you know, like it means that, you know, he has like a nice lush career. He made what, like 19, 20 movies, something like that. And each and every one of them has clearly inspired somebody, because you can almost pinpoint a singular moment in any one of his movies that has been either homaged or completely ripped off or like redone in a loving way. And like, that's pretty fucking cool.
Well, that's our show for this week.
Yeah.
What are we, Steve?
Yeah. Shitters.
A couple of shitters?